It's not going to work. And the other problem they have is the lived experience of pragmatic Americans, and what is being discussed in these communities. And I'm not just saying border communities, because every community is a border community under this president, but in a most pronounced fashion with border communities. Like, for example, this firefighter at Eagle Pass, Texas. Who are you putting stock in? What this firefighter has to say, or what these DC creatures say?
We're tired. The community is tired. Crime has gone up. Death is something that we're seeing every day. And it's very easy to watch something and make an opinion, right? But I'm telling you right now, it's been pretty bad for all of us.
And the reports, not only from their community and the high-profile cases of people in this country illegally committing crimes, particularly violent crimes, but also what they're hearing the world over. Because don't forget, Western Europe was way ahead of us when it came to the civilizational suicide of quote-unquote multiculturalism, which is an Orwellian term for open borders. I mean, it's an Orwellian euphemism for open borders and for, as John Kennedy said, treating people breaking into your country better than you do your citizens.
New figures show a sharp rise in crime in Germany. Last year, police processed nearly 6 million offenses. That's 5% up on the previous year. Violent crimes reached a 15-year high. Nearly half of all criminal suspects do not hold a German passport, reigniting calls for tougher immigration controls.
Boy, who could have seen that coming? Nick on the Northwest Side, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, thank you for taking my call, and good morning to you and everybody. I said in the beginning when, as the administration calls these people the migrants, that these will be to the next presidential election with Trump, what the coronavirus was in the last presidential election. And what will happen is the people who control the mailing out of these ballots, which is the Democrats, they're going to just start mailing out a bunch of ballots, because it's your decision, the way they make it look like, if you want to use the ballot or you want to go in person and vote. And they're going to mail out a bunch of them. There has to be more accountability and enforceability and some kind of legal penalties if they just mail them out wholesale all over the place. Because we've heard these stories in the last election where they were laying around in apartment buildings. But
here's the thing, Nick. Here's the thing, Nick. Please remember this. We when we talk about the election and we talk about it in generic terms nationally, like you're talking about it, we miss the point that it's a state-by-state exercise. And so what we're talking about is what happens in Georgia, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Arizona, maybe Michigan, maybe Pennsylvania, maybe New Mexico, maybe Nevada. And so we need to be very specific about what we're talking about and what we want to see happen and what concerns we have in those specific states with respect to how these elections are administered at the state level. Because they can flood Illinois or California or New York with all the unsigned ballots in Zucker boxes or whatever that they want. It doesn't change anything. You have to look at the specific states, and many of those states are not the same states they were when it comes to election administration in 2020. They're not the same as they were back then today. And so Georgia has made improvements. Wisconsin has made improvements. They just banned Zucker boxes, for example. They just banned using third-party personnel to administer elections the way that was allowed in 2020. So it's uneven, but let's be very specific so we have productive conversations between here and November. Thanks for the call, Nick. All right, coming up at 5:38. Seems like the Dexter Reed family has a bit of a problem with police. One guy opened fire on police, and the brother got arrested for assaulting and resisting arrest yesterday. We'll pick up the Dexter Reed story at 5:38.
Interesting. But now let's head into the newsroom. Good morning, I should say, to Mike Scott.
5:33, 53 degrees in Chicago. Arizona Republicans are halting efforts by state Democrats there to throw out a controversial law banning almost all abortions in the state. In that state's House, Republican Representative Matt Gress joined Democrats in trying to bring a bill forward to stop the ban, with a motion in the Senate also denied. Tornadoes tore through Louisiana and Texas Wednesday, tearing off roofs in Lake Charles, Louisiana, Port Arthur, Texas, and in nearby Slidell, Louisiana. High winds, heavy rain, and hail wreaked havoc across the region. Weather delaying the morning start of the Masters. Augusta National says the first round will not begin until at least 9 a.m. Eastern, but likely later than that. Chicago police say a man was shot at the 95th Street CTA Red Line station Wednesday night. 24-year-old man was involved in a verbal altercation. Frustrated residents showed up in force this week at the Thornton Township meeting, demanding answers from Tiffany Henyard about everything from spending to a sexual misconduct claim against one of her allies.
When you don't answer questions, there's something to hide.
Illinois Attorney General has also found Henyard's staff may be violating open records laws by refusing to turn over some financial records. A game popular among suburban teens is raising a few serious safety concerns after a recent incident involving a concealed carry holder and players at a Gurney restaurant.
Somebody who was a concealed carry holder wanted to take action and try to protect everyone in the restaurant, and actually went to draw his weapon to help protect everybody. And it was quickly realized that the weapons that the students were holding were water guns.
The game for fun is also known as Senior Assassins, involves participants, almost all seniors, targeting each other with water guns and catching them off guard as those seniors get ready to graduate. Similar incidents have been reported in other suburbs, including St. Charles. A man died after falling into an elevator shaft Tuesday in the south suburbs. The Joliet police report yesterday that 23-year-old victim was killed after falling into the shaft at the Joliet Equipment Corporation building. The University of Illinois is dropping its sex assault investigation into basketball player Terrence Shannon Jr. His attorney claimed Wednesday the university closed the investigation due to insufficient evidence. However, the criminal case continues in Kansas. Charges have been filed in connection with a crash and grab robbery at an Apple store in Naperville last fall. Police say 30-year-old Christy Lopez and David Fultz, along with a teenage boy, each face felony charges of burglary and criminal damage to property. Apple reports about $34,000 in devices was stolen. Damage to the storefront pegged at about $300,000. Padres a 10-2 win over the Cubs. The Guardians beat the White Sox 7-6 in 10 innings, and the Pistons take on the Bulls later on tonight. John Rahm will be looking to add another green jacket to his list of accolades when he defends his title later today at the 2024 Masters. The news service of In Grace with Jim Scudder Jr., now heard Sunday morning at 6:30 on AM 560. The Answer. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager explains what the left is all about.
Remember, everything the left touches, it destroys. Not most things. Everything, and destroys. That's all it does. It builds nothing other than state power. It builds nothing. Liberals build, conservatives build, and the left destroys.
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Charlie Kirk at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
Can you read this email for me?
Of course. Jeez, I wish they could do something for your eyesight.
Me too. But you heard what they said. There's nothing we can do.
When vision loss can't be corrected with glasses or surgery and hope seems lost, turn to Spectrios Institute for Low Vision. Spectrios doctors specialize in the treatment of vision loss related to eye diseases such as macular degeneration, glaucoma, and diabetic retinopathy. There is hope, supported by science with personalized rehabilitation plans, occupational therapies, and access technology at Spectrios. Talk to a patient service manager. They'll walk you through the program. Spectrios takes BCBS and Medicare insurance. They also have grants for qualifying patients and offer a Seeing is Believing children's outreach program. Go to spectrios.org, located in Wheaton in a building that says it all, the House of Hope. That's spectrios.org. Spectrios Institute, the head, heart, and eyes approach to better vision. Remember to keep Spectrios Institute, a 501c, in your estate or legacy planning.
Hi, it's Sean Thompson here. You know when you're at the mall and you go to those directory signs, the one that says you are here? Well, imagine that directory is a map of your preparation for retirement. Would you know where you are? My friend Tom Fortino at Alpha Wealth Group is offering you the opportunity to not only find yourself on that map, but also find the route toward a successful retirement. He calls it his retirement roadmap. You'll get an analysis of where you are right now, whether you're at risk if the market drops again, whether you're taking advantage of the latest tax changes, and much, much more. To get an idea where you stand on the road to retirement, call my friend Tom Fortino at the Alpha Wealth Group today at 630-934-1855. That's 630-934-1855. And ask for the retirement roadmap, or visit alphawealthgroup.com. And don't forget to listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour Saturday mornings right here on AM 560, The Answer, at 9 a.m.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
Support our police and hire the police to personally protect you. You've watched the news. Rising crime has been affecting our everyday lives in Illinois more and more these days. Blue Star Security can protect you, your business, or your place of worship. Blue Star Security is the only security company in Chicago with over 900 off-duty police officers, all W-2 employees.
I'm Jeffrey Salvetti, Vice President of Blue Star Security and a 15-year law enforcement veteran. The Blue Star team is made up of over 900 state-certified active and retired law enforcement professionals. We serve businesses and private organizations with supply chain and special event security, and also protect our loved ones at places of worship and schools all across the Chicagoland area. Blue Star Security's technology allows mobilization of off-duty officers quickly and efficiently. Our primary mission is to provide unparalleled protective services for each assignment with integrity while maintaining our commitment to community service in the Chicagoland area.
Visit online to schedule a free security consultation at bluestarsecurityllc.com. That's bluestarsecurityllc.com.
Download the free Upside app to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code EARN for an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. That's promo code EARN.
540 on AM 560, The Answer. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time delivered to you by Quick Delivery Service. Ground delivery when you need it from safe, licensed professionals. Go to quickdelivery.com now to schedule your delivery. Kennedy already crowded between Nagel and Montrose, 30 minutes in from O'Hare into the circle. Stevenson accident on the exit ramp. It's on the inbound side, and it's on the off-ramp to Cicero Avenue. I-57 and the Bishop Ford already jamming into the Ryan merge. I-80 stop-and-go slowdowns westbound between Hobart and River Road. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast in our QC Kinetics Weather Center. Breezy and cooler. Periods of rain. I-55. Cloudy, windy, evening rain, 47 overnight. Currently, we have 54 at O'Hare, and right now we have 53 degrees along Chicago's lakefront. Your next news update is at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. 3 years ago, Cook County Judge John Like was presiding over a felony bond court session when a 25-year-old man was brought before him on multiple counts of aggravated battery to police and resisting arrest. This is April of 21. Prosecutor told the judge, Judge Like, 2 cops pulled this dude over for running a red light, asked him to step out of the car. Instead, the man rolled up his window on one of the officer's arms and drove off as the cop's partner shattered the window to free the first cop.
Oh, that's nice.
The assailant later punched a police sergeant at the station lockup, according to prosecutors.
Getting better.
The defendant started to explain himself, and Judge Like, by the way, is a black gentleman, said, I'm going to stop you right there. I'm going to mute you now. It was a Zoom call. You know, this was back when we were all...
They're still doing it in Cook County Court, Stan, by the way.
Yeah, of course.
Just so you know.
Yeah,
Talked to my attorney yesterday. She's like, I said, are you back yet? She's like, nope, I'll still Zoom.
COVID forever.
Yep.
Judge Like, let me explain something to you and a lot of people.
I love this story.
I understand your fear. Trust me, I get it. However, the United States Supreme Court, as well as the Illinois Supreme Court, have said if a police officer asks you to get out of the car, irrespective of if you think it's right or wrong, you got to get out.
All in capital letters.
Here I am. I'm a judge, and I probably know the law better than 99.9% of the people on this planet. Well, maybe. And if an officer stops me for whatever reason, asks for me for my ID, and I give it to him and my insurance, and in fact, it happened to me about a month ago, you know what I did? I gave my license and my insurance. He ran it. He came back. He said, sir, step out of the car. You know what I did? I didn't start questioning him. Hey, what you doing? What am I doing here? No, I got myself out of the car. Walk to the back, the cop told the judge, Like. You know what I did? I walked to the back. You know what he did? He searched me. Was that a legal search? I don't know. I don't know what he had on his mind, but I didn't resist it. He searched me and says, Mr. Like, all right, have a good day. Did I kick and scream? No. Did I start quizzing him? What do you want me to get out of the car for? No. Because I know the Supreme Court said if police say get out of the car, you got to get out. You're never going to win on the street. Never. You got to come to court. And if you think the officer's wrong, that's where you air your grievances out, not on the street, because only bad things can happen. Luckily for both of you, the officers as well as you, nothing truly that bad happened where someone got seriously hurt. Is that the talk that mom and dad had with Dexter Reed? I'd like to know.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro. Answer line 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment. No, I mean, and the press conferences that they had yesterday, at the rally that they had, you know, the night before at the 11th District. No talk of that at all. Say he got pulled over by police. He did not comply, and then he shot an officer. He fired 11 rounds.
Julius Reed is Dexter Reed's brother, apparently. There are protests on Tuesday.
Oh, my God. Did you
outside the Harrison Police District. And Julius Reed struck an officer with his arm outstretched, pushed the officer backward, according to a police report describing the incident. More officers responded, trying to detain him for battery, when he resisted by stiffening his body and pulling away his arms. He was unarmed, and then he was handcuffed and walked to the Harrison Police Station, where he was processed for a battery and 2 counts of a resisting arrest, both misdemeanors. I don't think this is the message is getting through to the Reed family. I mean, with all due respect, and I understand they're grieving the loss of a family member, mom and dad of a son. But I mean, again, the complete absence of confronting these realities. Very frustrating. Because as I tweeted out, just thinking about it a little bit more after the show yesterday, here's 2 things you have to believe if you are decrying the police-involved shooting of Dexter Reed. You have to believe 2 things. You have to believe there is a scenario where after noncompliance with an officer's commands, someone can be, quote-unquote, afraid enough to legitimately open fire on cops. You also have to believe that the police have no right to defend themselves when someone opens fire on them up to some undefined number of return shots per officer. since the press corps and the plaintiffs' attorneys and the race hustlers are also focused on 96 shots in 41 seconds.
It's going around the world. People in Europe are talking about, what, for not wearing a seatbelt? He got shot at 100 times, almost 100 times.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. And you know what comes next, as completely anticipated. What happened after the police-involved shooting death of Adam Toledo? What happened after that?
Well, his mom finally came forward. He was missing for 3 days. She didn't even call police.
What happened with respect to law enforcement?
Well, everyone started crying defund police again.
Well, but specifically, we need what policy change?
Oh, you can't.
Foot
car
chases.
chases, foot chases.
Foot
yes.
chases.
Foot chases.
No,
was
you can't chase
definitely-
suspects. Can't chase suspects. No foot chases. We were way down the field on eliminating car chases, and then it became foot chases because that was a foot chase. So what do we have now? What's the discussion now? In this defund the police culture?
Get rid of tactical units and don't pull over somebody if they're not wearing their seatbelts.
Exactly. Tactical units are not tactical units.
They're hunters.
They're death squads.
Death squad, that's right. Sorry.
I mean, that's the way they're characterized. Again, this cannot be played enough. The grieving family, set them aside. How about somebody who holds a position at Northwestern Law School? This Sheila Betty woman? Yeah. We'll have to get that clip. Where's Sheila? Oh, here's Sheila Betty. Yeah, Sheila Betty.
Chicago Police Department TAC teams are out on the hunt. That is precisely what happened to Dexter Reed.
Mm-hmm.
It's so
and
irresponsible. And just
that's not, but she's not done.
Oh,
they're out
sorry.
on the hunt.
Okay.
They're out on the hunt.
Okay, sorry.
That the individual who opened fire on police, he did not escalate the situation.
Next, let's talk about de-escalation. Every single thing, every single police officer did in this encounter escalated it over and over. From coming out of the car with their guns out, to screaming commands, to brandishing their weapons inside the window, escalating over and over and over.
So this is a predatory outfit, this tactical unit. It's a death squad that escalated the situation because they are on the hunt, and Dexter Reed was, of course.
Then, of course, there's the use of force, which lacked proportionality. None of those officers saw Dexter Reed as a beloved community member, son, nephew. They saw him as prey.
Prey. They did not. I mean, come
Predator and prey. Chicago police, particularly the tactical units, and Sheila Betty Beatty, whatever, BEDI. I tweeted out her profile yesterday, so you can communicate with her if you want. Email, phone, office phone are there. And you can also communicate with Northwestern Law. And maybe Jelly Belly Pritzker. Maybe Pritzker, too, since it's the Pritzker School of Law. So these tactical units need to be disbanded, and now you have the stories that come out. Let's continue the day 2 and day 3 stories. Let's continue this. Now we get an ACLU attorney who says, yeah, these tactical units, this bad old history of these tactical units, and they're too aggressive, and so on and so forth. And this is not to defend bad behavior by police, presently or in the past.
And we call it out when we see it.
Of course. I mean, let's put this another way, too, just in terms of how much time we spend on this, to say their names. I can tell you a name of a victim in a police-involved shooting where the police officer was completely wrong. We said so at the time. It was a horrific decision that cost a man his life, even though he didn't comply with the officer's command. There's no way the officer should have ever opened fire on him. And this was a decade ago, and I remember it like it was yesterday, partly because we spent so much time on it, partly because it was such a shocking error in judgment. It was a white cop and a black man. and search the recesses of your mind to think about any sort of race reversal and any name you can come up with, right? Everybody can come up with George Floyd because that went on it's still going on, and monuments and all sorts of other silliness. But how many people remember Walter Scott?
Oh, that was in South Carolina, right?
Correct. Well, see, there you go.
And he was, that was awful.
So no one, this is not knee-jerk defending of police. But the only thing that is not proportional in these discussions, and this is consistent, is the response from these defund the police, even if they're using different phraseology these days, race hustling leftists who have grand designs to transform the criminal justice system just as they do the economy along identitarian lines. Decarceration, deprosecution, defund Democrats. And we're going to get to this a little bit later in the show, particularly when John Garrido joins us, retired Chicago police lieutenant. Just as we had the conversation about firefighters and the firefighters union in response to Jonathan Jackson, we have to have a little conversation about the FOP and their relationship with these defund, decarcerate, defund, deprosecute, decarcerate Democrats. Got to have a little conversation about FOP because accountability is for everybody. Jose in Dallas, Texas. You're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Dan and Amy, I've been saying this since 2010, 2011. I don't know why they can't just say it. No more proactiveness. I think there was wasn't there somebody downstate who was trying to come out with a stop traffic stops? That's what's coming. Probably should.
Yeah.
And then you're going to find out how terrible that is. They made a good stop. They found a pistol, and guess what? It turned bad on the cops. I feel sorry for them. Great show, by the way.
Well, he already had an illegal gun charge, so he knew that if they got him, he'd go back to jail. And he's 26 years old, and the family's attorney keeps saying he's a star athlete who enjoyed playing hoops. He's 26 years old. He lived at home. What was his job? I mean, his mom said he just bought her a Peloton, and he just bought a new car 3 days ago, but that car did not look new because it had side panel damage already on it.
Well, the family may be confused about his status as a star athlete because they are watching the media coverage with him in cap and gown, the picture of him in cap and gown.
I know, that's when they gave out.
Yeah.
Remember Blake?
He's an honor student.
The Kenosha guy, what was his name? Blake
Doesn't matter what his name was.
Well,
the Kenosha guy who mowed down all those people?
No. The black guy, Blake Jake. Oh, my God, he went to Evanston High School. And they kept saying he was a star athlete. He never even made basketball there. He wasn't a star athlete. He wasn't even on the freshman team. I mean, people, I know they're grieving. They can do things out of character, but don't believe what grieving family members say all the time.
Well, and even more to the point, don't believe the Chicago press coverage of it. They're the ones. They're the ones platforming the cap and gown picture for a 26-year-old who's been arrested for retail theft and as you mentioned, a gun charge in addition to what he did there. And that's the sort of the sum total of him is he graduated from some CPS high school. That's a reflection of who police rolled up on that fateful day last month. Yeah.
He didn't have a job, and his mom said he would just go out driving.
Well, we don't know what he did, do we? We don't know if he had a job or not. But it certainly hasn't been mentioned. Stephen Roselle.
Good morning, guys. Maybe this Reed family will finally learn how to behave when the police officer who was shot in the wrist sues them for half of what they end up getting from the city.
No.
I mean, do you think they're going to get money from the city on this, Dan?
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding?
Well, how much do you think they're going to? Oh, who knows?
They're going to get the city. This isn't going to be litigated. What? You're joking,
They're just
right?
going to settle. Yeah, I mean.
The city will write a 7-figure check to that family. I mean, mark it down. Racial spoils political system. What part of that do people not understand? Roger, Southside.
Hi, morning, Dan, Amy. When are we going to start talking about the ever-silent powers of Illinois and Chicago? I mean, because here, we all know what's going to happen here. Yes, I figure it'll be about 30, 40 million. Okay,
whatever.
Whose
I don't know,
back
but
does that go on? Whatever it may be.
Yeah, but
Why don't we
who
start
cares? You know who doesn't
don't
care,
care at
Roger? Right? Chicago residents don't.
I don't care one bit. And I'll tell you what, listen, until everybody, every show, every media, every resident here starts talking about the root causes, okay, which is the animal farm elected officials that we have, the radicals across the board, starting with Preckwinkle, Pritzker after that, and right down the line. And you know what? Everything else falls into play.
Yeah, except except they're not a root cause. If you want to talk about root causes, then who put them there? They're a manifestation of a problem. The people we have in office, aren't they? All right, coming up at 6:06. Speaking of racial spoil systems, racial politics, let's take it out to the suburbs, shall we? One of our favorite school districts, Oak Park River Forest. How Oak Park River Forest's attempted racism in advance of minorities is actually crushing minorities at Oak Park River Forest High School at 6:06.
But first, let's swing by that newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
Chicago police say a man was shot at the 95th Street CTA Red Line station on Wednesday night. Frustrated residents showed up in force this week at a Thornton Township meeting. We'll tell you why. A game popular among suburban teenagers, seniors in high school, raising some safety questions. And a lawsuit filed against CPS, a former student alleging she was groomed and sexually abused. WIND Chicago News Time is 6 o'clock.
The third time was not the charm. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Former President Trump denied yet again attempting to delay the first of his 4 looming criminal trials. Fox's Gernal Scott reports.
His lawyers argued their client, the presumptive Republican nominee for president, should be on the campaign trail and not at a courtroom defense table. It was quickly denied by New York Justice Ellen Gessmer. As of now, jury selection is on schedule to start Monday for his trial on charges he falsified company records to hide payments to an adult film actress, Stormy Daniels, to conceal an affair.
An affair the former president denies. Now, he campaigned in Georgia holding fundraisers.
But it's his views on abortion making headlines. Trump says he thinks Arizona should change its abortion laws after the state's Supreme Court ruled 1800-era laws banning the procedure can stand. This week, Trump urged Republicans to make abortion a state issue instead of pushing any federal standard.
Fox's Mark Meredith in Atlanta. In Phoenix, Democrats chanted shame, shame at the legislature as Republicans tabled discussion of a proposed repeal of that looming almost total abortion ban in Arizona. At the White House, President Biden toasted Japan's prime minister at a state dinner.
Join me in raising your glasses to our alliance, to our friendship.
Now, today they'll be joined by the president of the Philippines for talks on the threats China poses, especially around the South China Sea. And just ahead of those talks, China has blacklisted 2 U.S. defense companies for military sales to Taiwan. A shooting in Washington, D.C. left 1 person dead, 5 wounded, 2 of them kids.
This is another example, and I've been here before in this space, of violence that we just cannot accept in our communities.
D.C. Police Chief Pamela Smith are looking for the gunman who opened fire from a car into a street. The Biden administration is finalizing new restrictions on gun buying that would require private sellers, like at gun shows, to conduct background checks. America's listening to Fox News.
53 degrees at 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Chicago police say a man was shot at the 95th Street CTA Red Line station Wednesday night. Police say the 24-year-old man was involved in a verbal altercation with an unknown male when shots were fired. Frustrated residents showed up in force at a Thornton Township meeting this week, demanding answers from Tiffany Henyard about everything from spending to a sexual misconduct claim against one of her allies.
When you don't answer questions, there's something to hide.
A game popular among suburban teens, raising serious safety concerns after a recent incident involving a concealed carry holder and players at a Gurnee restaurant.
Somebody who was a concealed carry holder wanted to take action and try to protect everyone in the restaurant, and actually went to draw his weapon to help protect everybody. And it was quickly realized that the weapons that the students were holding were water guns.
The game, usually fun and in good form, is called Senior Assassins, involving participants targeting each other with water guns, usually all seniors as they get ready to graduate. Similar incidents have been reported in the suburbs like St. Charles, where police responded to multiple 911 calls there. A lawsuit was filed against CPS Wednesday, where a former student alleged that she was groomed and then sexually abused by the dean of students at her high school, and the school did nothing to stop it. According to the suit, former Little Village Lawndale High School dean of students Brian Crowder is alleged to have repeatedly sexually abused a former 15-year-old female student, where she was subjected to a pair of pregnancies and corresponding abortions. Now, Crowder was charged with sexual assault in 2022, but this lawsuit takes aim at the school and CPS. A man died after falling into an elevator shaft Tuesday in the south suburbs. Joliet police Wednesday updated the story and said a 23-year-old victim died after falling at Joliet Equipment Corporation's building. Padres 10-2 winners over the Cubs. The Naylor brothers had quite a day. National Siblings Day yesterday, so Josh and his younger brother Bo both hit home runs in the same inning, giving Cleveland a win over the White Sox 7-6 in 10 innings. Pistons are back home. They'll take on the Bulls tonight in Detroit's final home game of the season. The news is a service of Remke's Garage. Take it to the experts. Take it to Remke's Garage. Remke's Garage is your Sprinter, diesel, and Toyo tire headquarters. Visit remkesgarage.com, REMKES garage.com, and schedule your inspection today. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Brandon Tatum doesn't see hope in the next generation.
Maybe other generations were doing this. I find it more apparent in young people. They're unequipped for success in America. They do not know how to multitask. They do not know how to think on the go. They're unequipped. And I think it's the lack of fathers, the lack of leadership and mentorship.
The Officer Tatum Show, weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Quick delivery service. What do you need delivered today?
Hi, I'm trying to work through a last-minute to-do list for my boss. Can you deliver a hard drive to the Loop in Chicago?
We can deliver that today.
Okay, can you deliver 20 boxes to a client in Rockford?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver 12 pallets of tile to our customer in Naperville?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver a large envelope to Northbrook?
We can deliver that today.
Oh my gosh, I think my water just broke. Can you?
We cannot deliver that.
Quick Delivery Service delivers your package no matter the size. More than just a messenger service, Quick Delivery Service is a messenger and tracking service that can also provide scheduled routes for your daily delivery or your air shipment. Trucks are equipped to handle the load and provide ground-level service for same-day delivery. The Quick Delivery Service team of safe, licensed professionals can provide quick door-to-door service for your special delivery. QuickDelivery.com. That's QuickDelivery.com. We deliver that today. But we don't deliver this.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for less. And for a limited time, new customers receive their second month free when they sign up and use promo code MONTHFREE by May 31st. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
You know, since 9/11, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has been committed to supporting our nation's first responders and veterans
veterans. They support America's heroes like U.S. Army Major Jonathan Turnbull. Now, Major Turnbull sustained devastating injuries at the hands of an ISIS suicide bomber. Tunnel to Towers gave him a specially adapted smart home designed for his needs. Join Tunnel to Towers. They're hoping all of us will donate $11 a month so this great work continues. Their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
6:08. Let's get an update on the roads. We do that, of course, in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. We'll start on the Jane Addams westbound. Report of an accident on the on-ramp from northbound Arlington Heights Road. There's an SUV in the ditch and emergency equipment on the scene. One of the other problem spot, Ike on the inbound side. Right at Des Plaines Avenue, there is an accident on the right shoulder. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Clouds and breezy, cooler periods of rain. The high today 55. Cloudy, windy, rain this evening. A brief shower late tonight, low 47. Showers early tomorrow morning, then clouds and sun. A windy day. High tomorrow afternoon at 59. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
53 at O'Hare. Next news at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So on this fishing trip I did up north last weekend, at dinner talking to some of the guys about Illinois, is mostly Chicago, right? That was on this trip, past or present. And I don't know how the subject ultimately turned to schools, but it did. And I was just sort of giving them chapter or verse on what anybody who listens to this show knows about how big of fraudsters the suburban school districts are that you think are good schools. These government schools, and a lot of the private ones for that matter, but the government school districts that in the wealthy areas that are supposed to be so good. Well, fortunately, I live in Naperville, where we have very good public schools. Fortunately, I live on the North Shore. We have very good public schools there.
Dude.
I'm in Barrington, where we have. I'm lucky. We got very good schools. You know, Glen Ellen.
Excellent sports programs too. Don't forget that.
We have the good schools in Glen Ellen, the Glen Bart schools. You've heard of them, sure? Yeah. Yeah, I'm in the suburbs. Oh, it's terrible what's happening in the city. Thank God I'm in the suburb where we have very good schools. And then you look at the actual report cards, and those are not report cards concocted by right-wingers like me, spreading misinformation and disinformation and threatening our democracy. No. That's what the numbers that those very good schools report to the very good Illinois State Board of Education. And we just pulled the data. And so did Wire Points, who put together a report card on every school district in the state. You go to right there, wirepoints.org. Mark Glennon, Ted Dabrowski, and the gang, they just pulled together the data and collated it essentially Something that any concerned parent could do, look up the data on their school, but they don't because their schools are very good. They've been told that. They have to believe that. They've spent so much money to be there.
They can't have it any other way, Dan. That's what the thing is.
Absolutely.
They don't want to investigate it because they don't want to know otherwise.
I went to Hinsdale Central. It was a very good school.
Well, I went to Hershey, and it was a really very good school.
Oh, of course. They all are.
All the
Anywhere we went,
nice.
anyone went in the suburbs is a very good school. Except the data says something else. And I thought everybody was a man and woman of science and data, especially on the left. Especially the smart people, the experts, the credentialed in these wealthy, honky enclaves. So I had to disabuse my friends, and I mean, they're conservative, so it's not like there's a lot of pushback. They just didn't know. They didn't know. They didn't know that, a third of the kids at most of these schools, at least, are not doing math or reading at grade level. They just don't know. And obviously it gets worse from there, including in some relatively wealthy areas where it's significantly worse. One of the gentlemen on the trip was from Evanston. I'm like, you may not want to, ETHS, I don't, that's not my play. That wouldn't be the play I'd make. How about Oak Park River Forest? That certainly wouldn't be the play I'd make. I'd sooner send my kid, if I had one, to a Maoist indoctrination camp than Oak Park River Forest, although they're almost indistinguishable, as far as I can tell. They have a strategic plan at Oak Park River Forest. Of course they do. They're visionaries. Of course they're going to have a strategic plan that's 4 years out. The high school's 2028 strategic plan has arrived. Priority number 1, racial discrimination. They call it equity, but we know what it is. That's their Orwellian term for discrimination. Priority number 1, identitarian politics at Oak Park River Forest. And anybody in Oak Park and River Forest that is surprised by this has been completely asleep at the switch. Oak Park River Forest will, and this is quoting, implement a comprehensive set of strategies and a resource allocation plan
tell me more.
to equitably distribute resources by shifting school funding, staff, and educational programs from white students to black and Hispanic students. This includes replacing at least 40%, at least 40, raw number. This includes replacing at least 40 white and Asian teachers at Oak Park River Forest. Got to get rid of the honkies and the Asians. And you got to usher in the blacks and the Hispanics.
What?
Because that's the way you reflect the diversity of our student population. Get rid of 40 whites and Asians. Doesn't matter their performance, what their quality is.
They're successful teachers and the kids love them. And they're effective at their job. Just because they're white, they're going to lose their job.
Well, I'm not stipulating to any of that. I'm not stipulating that they're good teachers, they're effective at their job, or anything of the sort. Oak Park River Forest is a terrible school. What I'm saying is, there's nowhere that you should take that default position. Nowhere. Everything should be questioned now. Oh, these are great teachers. Everybody's a great teacher trying their best. Some are not. Individual basis. I'm not giving anybody the benefit of the doubt, and I would caution everybody else to do the same. 40 white, the point is not whether they're good or not. The point is it doesn't matter. They're white and Asian. They got to go because we need more blacks and Hispanics. Maybe the blacks and Hispanic teachers they hire will be better. Maybe they won't. Doesn't matter. That's the point. Reflecting the diversity of our student population. Direct quote. That's the point. They also are going to enroll more black and Hispanic students in honors and advanced courses by June of 2026, ensuring, quote, a majority of black and Hispanic parents and non-English speaking parents are satisfied or very satisfied with communications. What? Is anything about developing kids intellectually? No. You won't find that in the strategic plan. By the way, Oak Park is 53%, the student body, 53% white, 20% black, 15% Hispanic, 4% Asian. The faculty, 75% white, 9% black, 9% Hispanic, 4% Asian. So the Asians are properly represented because it's just a numbers game. If there's 4% of Asian students, you have to have exactly 4% of Asian teachers. Whites are overrepresented, 53% white, but 75% honky teachers. You got to get rid of some honky teachers. 9% black, but 20% of the student body is black. So you got to add black teachers to get up to 20%. 9% Hispanic faculty, 15% Hispanic students. You got to get up to 15%. Doesn't matter what the impact will be. It just has to be exactly representative. Or better in the case of minorities because they're historically disadvantaged, they're part of oppressed classes, and so forth. So we will accept overrepresentation of the people that we designate as oppressed. That's the program. That's the vision for Oak Park River Forest over the next 4 years. Wonderful, isn't it? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Funny thing about Oak Park River Forest. The test scores have fallen since the start of the racial equity plan implementation, which began in earnest when labor union lobbyist Ralph Martiri, Illinois Budget, Tax, and Accountability outfit that he runs, he joined the school board in 2018. So this has been underway for 6 years. I think it's enough of a probationary period to do a stop, look, and listen, don't you? By the way, if you want fun back and forth on Illinois fiscal policy and finances, Martiri and I debated at the Union League Club several years back, and it's really something to behold because it's a real mind's eye into the mentality of the government-centric ruling class in the city and the state, and in Oak Park River Forest. So where do we stand? Well, in 2023, only 10% of black OPRF students were at grade level for math. That's ISBE. That's down from 18% the year before Ralph Martiri joined. That's down from 18% in 2017, the year before Martiri joined the board, and they moved in the direction of racial equity. So racial equity, it was 18%, but pre-racial equity, 18% of black students were at grade level for math. After they started to equalize everything and eradicate systemic racism and provide the necessary resources to black students and so forth, it dropped to 10%. Bang up job, nobody cares. Doesn't matter because we're too busy congratulating ourselves for how enlightened we are. And that's what every one of these school districts is doing to varying degrees. Every single one of them.
Equity champions, yes.
OPRF has also seen decline in math scores for white students, 63% at grade level. That's down from 75% in 2017. Hispanic students are at 40% math at grade level. That's down from 49% in 2017. So it's achieving equity. Achieving equality, the equal misery, the equality of misery, which is exactly what collectivism promises. Well, it may not promise that, but that's actually what it delivers, as Winston Churchill observed so many moons ago. The gospel of envy, the creed of ignorance, equity, synonym for equal outcome, synonym for equal miserable outcome. Martiri, now we have not only what we're going to measure, but how we're going to measure it and what sort of initiatives the administration is going to bring to the table, and they will have to be evidence-based. That was a big deal. No other district has that, and we've got that. Yeah. Just paper over these catastrophes, all at the hands of identitarian ideologues with all sorts of gobbledygook about everything is going to be measured and it's going to be evidence-based, and don't you worry, we're experts and we're doing this and we're going to accomplish that, and pay no attention to the outcomes. Pay attention to the facade that we stand up of Look how many more black teachers or Latino teachers. Look how many fewer honky teachers, and so on and so forth. That's what's important. The board members. Insurance agent Fred Arkin. Maybe you know them in Oak Park River Forest. When you see him, say,
Hey,
way to
Fred.
go, Fred Arkin. Lawyer Tim Brandhorst. Way to go, Tim. These are accomplished professional people.
They're your betters.
No question about that. Supply chain consultant Graham Brisbane. Supply chain executive Tom Kofsky.
I think I went to prom with him. Okay, go on.
No, swing a dead cat in this region. College professor Jonathan Livingston. Human resources executive Audrey Williams Lee.
I was waiting for a woman.
Exactly. We have to talk about this
Please,
board. This
yeah,
board isn't representative.
Start with yourselves there, honky white men.
And my favorite board member, my favorite current board member at OPRF.
See it.
Erotica author Mary Ann Mohanraj. You may remember Mary Ann Mohanraj, the erotica author. Fabulous. She was invited a couple of years ago to be the commencement speaker at OPRF. Of course she was. What a get. Mary Ann Mohanraj, erotica author. Her commencement speech to the class of 2023.
My son had a tough time in kindergarten. Anand got called into the principal's office 17 times for disciplinary infractions, and at one point even got into a shouting match with the vice principal in the cafeteria. He was 5. Anand was struggling, and for a parent, that's really scary. It was also confusing because at home, he was a sweet kid with a strong sense of justice and fairness. Why did he keep getting into trouble at school? My husband is white, and Anand is not as dark as me, but still darker than some of his classmates. I couldn't help wondering whether his brown skin influenced how quick people were to assume he was violent, that he was the troublemaker in class.
Oh, she's sick. That's disgusting.
She's not sick. She's an educator. She's an erotica author. She's a school board member at OPRF.
Married to a white man whose kid is not as dark, and that's maybe why he got in trouble. No, he's 5 and he's shouting at the vice assistant principal.
Yeah, but he's shouting
Parenting
social
problem.
justice tropes.
Oh, yeah.
I had a nice little 5-year-old social justice warrior, but then he ran afoul of the power structure in kindergarten because he's too brown. I couldn't help but wonder. She challenged the class of 2023 at OPRF with powerful thought experience during this riveting commencement.
Who's excluded by our country's immigration laws? What is the purpose of nation states? Should we have borders at all? I don't know the answers to those questions, but I do know that we should be asking them, questioning the stories we've grown up with.
Oh my God! I mean, if
Uh-huh.
I was there, I probably would have walked out. Ugh.
Roger DeKalb, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Lot to process.
Hey, yeah, so that they've been spreading that love all over for a long time. 2018, DeKalb elected a new school board, 4-3, 4 super progressives. First thing they did was move to get rid of the superintendent that everybody liked. He was a great guy. Teachers, everybody. 6 candidates finalized. The teachers didn't want the recommendations. They picked Minerva Sanchez Garcia from Oak Park River Forest, a doctor of education and a social justice expert.
Yeah.
And man,
Nice
have
get.
we paid the price since. Yes, doctor of education. So this monster, so DeKalb came at 13 and 14% in the reading and math. DeKalb, where 65% of the kids live below the poverty level, if you can believe that, because we have the second largest public housing development on one property in the state in DeKalb, city of 45,000 people. 65% under the poverty level. The schools are a nightmare. So it came out 13 to 14%. And this superintendent's comment was, it was in the paper, it was in the DeKalb Chronicle, another fine, whatever that Shaw Media garbage paper is, and that mediocrity was a good thing to try to achieve, but sometimes you just don't make it. It was a total meh statement. They just signed, so the whole town's in an uproar. You think you're hearing, they're going to get rid of her. They just signed around for 2 more years. So, and her philosophy of discipline is, if you were raised in a tough environment with a single parent, and you didn't really have any discipline, well, then you got to go easier on those kids. It's like, oh my God, the discipline program these progressives put in was written by 2 Western Illinois and 1 Northern Illinois social justice professors. So it is like DeKalb has become a nightmare. Schools are incredibly dangerous and stupid. It's unbelievable. And who's paying the price? All these minorities, they moved out here from the city, the big purge to make Chicago look better. It is just, and it's not fair to these people, because you might have 50 people and 5,000 are just ruining the whole community. It's incredible.
Thanks for the call, Roger. Appreciate it. No, it's from the excerpts from DeKalb. But no. Where you don't understand, Dan. Where I am, I know the teachers. I know some of the school board members. I pay attention. No, it's not this. It's not like that where I'm at. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. They may be better at couching it. It may not be as pronounced as what you just heard from Roger and DeKalb. It's the system. This is what the system produces. It won't produce it evenly because there's a lot of variables. But this is what the government school system produces in a state dominated by the left. So, you can choose willful blindness. Many do. But I'm here to tell you, if you think it's not happening where you are, you're wrong. Dead wrong. Brian in St. John, Indiana.
Hey, good morning. Speaking of DeKalb, I was working at one of the schools out there a few years ago, and they had pride flags all over the place, so whatever that's worth. But the reason I called is I was working at the Flossmoor Public Library this week. Don't forget about libraries. I got off the elevator on the 2nd floor of the children's section, and right there, front row center, there was a bunch of pamphlets and brochures specifically for teen pregnancy, leading kids to Planned Parenthood. There was a brochure about gun violence, nothing about gun safety. And then there was, of course, your LGBTQ pamphlet and brochure, to let little kids know that they have options and what they want to be when they grow up. So don't forget about the libraries. That's all I got.
Oh yeah, the libraries. I mean, it really is like dear leader type stuff, propaganda that is being pushed in. Not even getting beyond the issue areas of identity politics. Dear leader propaganda that I'm talking about, like something you would see in communist China. Mm-hmm. You think I'm exaggerating? Libs of TikTok had this. Received this from a teacher in a California elementary school. First graders are being given an assignment praising Governor Newsom for being a, quote, champion for people's rights, and they are asked to list praises for him. She screenshotted a picture from this manual, this book.
Gross.
It's a picture of Gavin Newsom, full Patrick Bateman, citizenship, quality, respect for the rights of others. Gavin Newsom, champion for people's rights. Biographies tell stories. They can show how people cause change. Gavin Newsom was mayor of San Francisco. Gavin said people could marry who they choose. Sometimes Gavin helped marry people. Some marriages were not between a man and a woman. He made sure that people's rights were respected. Write about changes Gavin Newsom made as mayor to respect people's rights, and then you have blank lines to fill in the blank. Talk about it. Turn and talk to a partner. Tell how you respect the rights of others. Turn and talk to your partner in first grade and tell your partner how much you love Gavin Newsom, our dear leader.
Oh, that's brainwashing. That's sick.
And
that's communism. You're right.
And I'm looking forward to those being added from Jelly Belly Pritzker to the course offerings in government schools mandated.
Well, yeah, because he's got to keep up with the Joneses. I mean, if Gavin Newsom's doing it, he's got to get on it.
Got to keep up with the Newsoms, absolutely. All right, coming up at 6:36, we'll stay on this topic, too. How much would you pay to have a mediator how much would you pay to throw a party with your fellow honky Chardonnay Antifa members where you have a mediator come in and tell you all how racist you are? How much would you pay to do that? $2,000? $3,000? 6:36.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
6:32, 52 degrees. The Biden administration this morning will attempt to close what they call the background check gun show loophole. Officials say the new federal rules will expand the definition of a licensed firearm dealer and sharpen existing enforcement measures. Arizona Republicans are putting a halt to efforts by state Democrats to try and throw out a 1864 law banning almost all abortions in the state. For now, the Arizona Supreme Court is upholding the ban. Watch out for a storm system to bring severe weather to parts of the southeast and Ohio River Valley today. Yesterday, across the south in Slidell, Louisiana, police officer Rod West was in his car when a tornado tore up that city.
Rain was all over the place. My car was shaking. And when I got to this point at Cosmeyer and Pontchartrain, it kind of lifted a little bit. And what I saw was just buildings with the windows busted out, cars on their side, other vehicles wrecked, power lines down. Worst case scenario that you could imagine. About
100,000 customers in and around New Orleans alone have no electricity right now. Disney is defending its decision to fire actress Gina Carano from the Mandalorian television show. In court filing, Disney this week filed a motion to dismiss Carano's suit, saying it had a, quote, constitutional right not to associate its artistic expression with Carano's speech, end quote. Chicago police say a man was shot at the 95th Street CTA Red Line station last night. The 24-year-old man is in an unknown condition, was hit by gunfire on the mezzanine level of that station. A lawsuit was filed against Chicago Public Schools Wednesday, where a former student alleged she was groomed and sexually abused by the dean of students at her high school, and the school did nothing to stop it. According to the suit, former Little Village Lawndale High School dean Brian Crowder is alleged to have repeatedly sexually abused the former 15-year-old female student, where she was subjected to a pair of pregnancies and corresponding abortions. Crowder was charged with sexual assault in 2022. The lawsuit now takes aim at the school and CPS. A Chicago killer died this week in prison while serving a life sentence. Floyd Durr was 55. You may recall he was convicted for the murder of 11-year-old Ryan Harris in 1998, a heinous crime that shocked the Inglewood community. Initially, 2 young boys were arrested for the crime, but a subsequent DNA test confirmed Durr's guilt. Padres 10-2 winners over the Cubs last night, while it was Cleveland with a comeback win over the White Sox, 7-6 in 10 innings of work. Well, the Blues beat the Blackhawks 5-2. The Pistons will take on the Bulls tonight. The news, a service of Del Bacchio Marchetti Group of Hat Properties, Christie's International Real Estate. Experts in the northwest suburbs and Chicago. With over $800 million in sales, you'll get the most value for your home at 708-828-0000. And a check. Traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher says it's obvious what the left wants.
I don't even know if I care what the process is that these judges are arriving at. Whatever it is, it's flawed.
I don't care about the process. They might as well just come out and admit they don't want any rules to apply. They don't want any common sense. They don't want any justice. They want him financially and politically destroyed.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, Doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidisciplined practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology, such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930. That's 630-830-4930. Or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
Can peace of mind fit into just 3 fruits and 3 veggie supplements? Yes. We start by sourcing the best fruit and vegetable ingredients. We ensure that all our produce meets our rigorous standards in order to give you the highest quality product possible. They are then washed, cut, and put through an advanced vacuum-cooled process that removes the water using pressure. We then take great care in grinding them into a fine powder. These powdered ingredients are then mixed and encapsulated, locking out air and moisture. The capsules are then bottled and shipped right to your door so you can experience your own personal Balance of Nature success story.
I've looked at other supplements out there, and they don't have what Balance of Nature has.
Balance of Nature really was the game changer. I'm serious, it works.
Go to balanceofnature.com and get 35% off plus $10 off any additional sets as a preferred customer by using discount code Chicago.
In a big city like Chicago, we all know that there are challenges, especially for children. But behind the staggering statistics we often hear about, there are real kids who need support to overcome these barriers. That's what By the Hand Club for Kids is all about. By the Hand Club for Kids is a faith-based, nonprofit organization serving children in some of Chicago's most under-resourced neighborhoods, places like Austin, Englewood, Cabrini Green, and Oak Hill Gardens. By the Hand Club for Kids runs after-school programs for children that nurture their minds, their bodies, and their souls. Right now, By the Hand Club for Kids is serving nearly 1,800 children, and we need your help. Your one-time gift of just $120 will provide a day of after-school programming for 2 children. Or you can become a club champion and give a monthly gift of just $40, which will provide for 8 children in the next year. Give that gift today by going to bythehand.org/radio. That's bythehand.org/radio.
Don't pay retail for your diamond engagement ring or gift. Come to cleanorigin.com.
6:40. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Scattered showers and conditions with wet roads causing some delays this morning. We'll start on the Jane Addams I-90 westbound. There's an accident partially blocking the entrance ramp from northbound Arlington Heights Road. Delays as you travel on I-57 and the Bishop Ford as you run into the Ryan merge. And the Ryan right now especially heavy in the express inbound between 47th and the Chinatown feeder. Traffic a service of Lowe's. Save big during Spring Fest at Lowe's. Get a free leaf blower in select combo kits because Lowe's knows spring. Offers valid through 4/17. Compared to trimmer purchased separately, blower and trimmer sold packaged together as a combo kit. Includes 1 battery and charger while supplies last. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Breezy and cooler with periods of rain. High 55 today. 53 at O'Hare. 50 along Chicago's lakefront. And your next news update is at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Have you or someone you know hosted one of these race to dinners?
It's called race to dinner. I race to dinner when I'm hungry. Hey-o! No, I've not heard of this race to dinners thing.
I can't imagine that somebody out there
I don't really have friends.
is unfamiliar. Probably one of your friends, yes.
Yeah.
Is unfamiliar with this. Race to dinner. Race, the number 2, dinner.
Race to dinner, okay.
It's a double entendre. Race to dinner. For the low, low price of $5,000, you can get identitarian absolution if you host one of these dinners for honky wine moms of the Mercedes Marxist variety.
So
this
wait,
is
you're
becoming
paying somebody to come to your house
and tell you how racist you are. That's
okay.
right.
Do they cook the meal too for this $5,000,
No.
or that's separate?
No, you cook the meal.
Okay,
You're
got it.
You're paying
Okay.
$5,000
To have
to
guests
host all of your ghastly, awful friends, honky friends, in, let's say,
Lakeview?
I mean, it could be Lakeview.
It could. It probably is. I bet. I have a
Could be a lot of
street where
places. Could be Naperville.
happening. Mhm.
Could be Glen Ellen. Could be Hinsdale, of course. Wilmette. So you get the sense. So you get around a table, and then you bring in a black or brown lady or two, and they tell you what a racist POS you are for an hour or so, and then you are conferred absolution as long as you go forward and screech at other people the way that they screech at you. You have to screech it forward.
White women are socialized to be nice. And part of that niceness means you don't come to a beautifully prepared dinner table and then leave because something upsets you. So we know they'll stay. So that's why we use the dinner. How many of you at this table think that you're racist?
Welcome to Race to Dinner.
How many of you at this table, you nice white people, would actually happily trade places with a black person in this society?
Nobody raised their hands.
Disclaimer, the following contains blunt and honest conversations about racism.
We have the hostess prepare a crying room, so when your white lady feelings get hurt, you can go in the room and have at it.
Disclaimer, no white women were harmed in the making of this report.
In 30 seconds, we establish, that you all are racist and that you know the hierarchy. Black at the bottom, white at the top, and the rest of us somewhere in between.
The goal is to have radically honest conversations. I'm old enough to have demonstrated and marched in the 60s, okay? And what I know is as a society, we don't have honest conversations about race.
During Cyber Rao's unsuccessful run for Congress in 2018, she found her schedule overflowing with coffee dates and campaign events.
At every event, line of white ladies wrapped around the door waiting to talk to me, to tell me not me, not all white women. My platform was anti-racism. Not me, you've got me wrong.
Denver native Regina Jackson worked on Cyber's campaign and thought to consolidate these one-on-one anti-racism discussions into a dinner.
So we did it. We just did one of these dinners, and it was full white women, the Broadway musical. Crying, arms folded, eyes rolled, pacing around the dinner table, and we posted about it on Facebook, and it went viral. I should have educated them.
The dinners, which continue to grow in popularity, have taken place from Denver to Chicago to Toronto. A white woman chooses to host at her home for a group of 7 friends. The price of the 2-hour dinner, $5,000.
You know why people are worked up about this? Because white people think that them doing this work is charity and we should be paying them. So even a penny would be too much.
Thank you.
Race to Dinner's message can now be consumed through a New York Times bestseller and a documentary.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Want me to sign your book?
All geared for white women who acknowledge their unchecked biases and are looking to purge the Karen inside of them.
Are you looking to purge the Karen inside of you? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. You said Chicago was called. You heard it. So it's happened here.
Oh, dear Lord. Oh, my God.
How many of you are racist? 4 of the 7 raised their hands. I'm supposed to say yes, right? How many of you would trade places with a black person? Nobody raises their hands. Really? Now, how many of you would trade places with Naomi Campbell? How about Oprah? Or maybe Slim Oprah back in the day.
Cheater. She's a cheater.
Yeah. I don't know.
Weight Watchers, my blank.
Right. I mean, they're how about? Maybe probably not.
Gayle King.
I mean, Condi Rice. We could go on and on and on.
Right.
But whatever. Viola Davis. Serena Williams. No takers. Nobody. Okay.
And this is for real. This is not satire.
It's for real. There's a book. There's a documentary. The New York Times is profiling it. It's radiating all over the country thanks to social media. And it's for the low, low price of $5,000. And don't tell me, I mean, honestly, this is like the school thing. Don't tell me that you don't know what I'm talking about. Because this is everywhere. Especially, and, you know, a lot of our listeners live in these godforsaken, wealthy enclaves that are dominated by these harridans like the ones hosting these dinners. So don't tell me you don't know what I'm talking about. I know you do. I know who some of them are. Matt, Birmingham, Alabama.
Do you notice that all of these things take place up north? Denver, Chicago, Toronto, Boston. We moved from Geneva to Charlotte to Birmingham. And there are more African Americans and people of mixed race in my development in Birmingham than an entire city and town of Geneva and St. Charles combined. And I sit here and see these people completely capitulate to their inner racist feelings, and they go ahead and get these dinners together. And I'm like, you know what, people, just get along. Stop seeing race and just deal with each other on a human level. They just don't get it, especially up north.
Thanks for the comment. Well, that's because it's invented.
I just can't believe they'd pay $5,000 to be abused at dinner.
Wait, no. To be absolved.
Oh.
They're paying for absolution. That's what they're paying for. And they're paying for inclusion. Oh, yeah. Remember what David Mamet said about Hollywood? The thing they fear the most is to be excluded. So whatever I have to do to stay with the in crowd, whatever I have to do to be on the side of what society says is right, and by society I mean, you know, what I hear on The View, what I hear at Starbucks. I mean, their societies are very small, insular places. But to Matt's point, so that's an important point actually that's raised there. The other important point, Matt, what I was getting to with Matt. The reason, you know, you don't see it, Charlotte, Birmingham, actually integrated communities as opposed to the most segregated city in America, de facto, which is Chicago. And yeah, in all of these, you know, wonderfully diverse communities like Hinsdale and Highland Park. Yeah, Kenilworth. Oh, wonderfully diverse. Yeah, my ass. So point is, it's invented. Most of this is invented. The way that regular human beings interact with one another has nothing to do with race to dinner, has nothing to do with how the media covers race relations. Just like the media creates alternative worlds on a range of other issues, they have done so with race relations. Remember that their goal in service of the race hustlers is also absolution, is also inclusion. And in order to get there, again, America is irreparably stained, hardwired into our DNA. It's systemically racist. It's still 1960s Selma, and we'll let you know when it isn't.
I'm starting to think that they're America's most dangerous voting bloc.
These are people who are the useful idiots to the race hustlers who use race for political power. That's what the new Marxists do. That's what identitarianism is. It's a political power play. This is clear, isn't it?
312-642-5600. If you cannot get a line because their lines are jammed, text us at 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
Candace, Mount Pleasant, Wisconsin.
I'm so glad I already did my penance by living on the South Side for 10 years. And boy, was that a real wake up, because I was one of them fresh out of Northwestern when I got down there. And I thought all these people were my pals, and turns out they weren't. And so now I'm going in the totally opposite direction, which is anti-communism. And I'm moving down to a rural area. And I don't really care anymore. I see this for what it is, and people keep talking about this, but they don't understand we're going through a revolution. They're so stupid.
Thanks for the call, Candace. I want to host I think AM 560 should do a race to dinner on the North Shore.
Okay.
And, I mean, if we can get one of the race to dinner broads, do they like to be called broads?
No, probably not.
If we could get one of those broads, chicks, babes, honeys, sweetie pies, if we can get one of them to join us, that'd be all the better. That'd be a fun dinner. Probably be a food fight, but it'd be fun.
Text message, Dan and Amy, I'd rather trade places with the black woman that's getting paid $5,000 to be annoying. Because the money goes to them. I mean, they make the money.
The black women who are there to tell you how racist you are make the money.
Right,
yeah.
they make the money. But he's saying like, I'd want to trade places with you. You're getting paid $5,000 to be an annoying dinner guest.
Yes, yeah. Are you racist? You're all racist. Really?
Raise your hand.
Huh, boy.
Well,
we're
pass the potatoes.
We're firing out of the gate here tonight. Okay. All right.
How insufferable.
No, we need to figure out a way to combine forces here. Because I don't know. I mean, if all you have to do is offer phony absolution to a phony crisis, and you get $5,000, I mean, that's not a bad business model. Yeah. And I'll pick out the wine too.
Oh, okay.
I'll throw that in there.
So nice of you, Dan.
Dawn in Naperville.
Once you learn to read, you will forever be free. Guess who said that? And how many years ago? That was Frederick Douglass.
Mm-hmm.
And we still have the same problem. So if you want to go after education through the lens of whatever these people are doing, you are cowards because you're not addressing the fundamental issue. And you want to know why they don't address the fundamental issue? Because they don't want to admit they're wrong. They don't want to admit that Fontenay and Pinnell is a failure. And that's what they keep throwing their money at. And you want to know what the problem is in our school system? They tend to focus on the gifted. And the kids who aren't reading, they get thrown into a classroom or thrown and set aside. That is you want to talk about equity and equality? If equity and equality was realistic in Illinois, they wouldn't focus on therapeutic day schools. They would focus on children being able to read and write and function independently. And I'm sorry, I agree. Kids shouldn't be suspended when they're in 8th grade and they can't read. Who the heck would want to go to school? You're not addressing the fundamental issues initially. And for the parents that can afford tutoring, these kids are going to be fine. But for the parents who can't afford tutoring, they're up a creek. And if you really want to educate everybody out there, go look up Cream Weaver. He is a vice president of AACP Education Committee, and he did a documentary called The Right to Read. Educate yourself. This is the fundamental issue in our education system. And because of Fontenay and Pinnell, that the Democratic Party wanted to embrace and get rid of literacy funding in 2000, and I believe it was 17, that is the fundamental issue. It's all about money.
Well, thanks for the call, Dawn. I mean, good points. But something else about these dinners. I mean, what an indictment of the education system for people that probably did come from households where parents cared about their education and they had resources. Maybe they had tutoring, whatever. But these are mostly college-educated honky women. So what's that an indictment of? It's not an indictment of not being able to read. So there are multiple viruses tearing through the body politic at the same time. Let's not conflate the two. Let's recognize all of them and treat them accordingly. By the way, text from 630, ask one of the black women if they'd like to trade places with a white HVAC installer. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I think it's probably better business just getting the $5,000 check to sit around and call a bunch of honky women racist for a couple hours. Yeah, I don't think they're going to be in for the manual labor there. Tom in Cherville, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, I'm trying to picture where the husbands are during this dinner. Are they in the garage hanging themselves from a rafter, or sucking up car fumes? Where are they at?
Hopefully out with their buddies.
They're
some steam.
They're looking for their penises, I believe.
Dan,
they're trying to find where their wife hid their penis. Right?
Okay.
Honey, have you seen? I mean, honestly,
how do you come home and tell your husband you went to a dinner like that?
How do you, if you're married to that, how do you come home? Well, when do you admit you've made a terrible mistake? But I mean, the problem, of course, is that a lot of these male impersonators they are married to. Yeah. I mean, they're just as bad. They're just as adult. These are not men. They're wearing pea hats at anti-Trump rallies too.
They probably financed that $5,000 dinner.
I mean, do you know how weak? I mean, come on. Have nobody but me has ever been to one of these soirees in these wealthy honky enclaves? Do you know how weak some of the men are? And I'm talking about successful men financially. You know how pathetic they are?
The last one I went to, he was such a pea hat. I wanted
Exactly.
And he was almost shaking. He goes, you know what? It's easier to get a gun than an abortion in Illinois. I'm like, okay. I said, do you own a weapon?
And you said,
do you know what it's... I'm staring at him like, are you out of your mind?
Well, and you said, do you want an abortion that bad? What do you... I'm sorry.
No, I did say, like, you're looking to get an abortion. Are you pregnant?
Yeah.
And then I said, have you ever applied for a FOID card? Gun? I said, no. Do you know what the process is like? You don't go into a gun store and get a gun right away.
I had
to walk him through the process. And
forget the process. The process is not the point.
He was out
the disposition
shaking.
is.
He was shaking.
Yeah, I mean, you like the
right
success. These men.
They're not men.
These alleged professional men, mostly professional men. Some of you've got some union goons who vote Democrat and do the rough and tumble, phony act. But mostly it's these effete professional men that matriculated at the same schools as these ghastly offals. I mean, they're just as reprehensible. They're just as noxious. And I don't know why we're afraid to, especially man to man, put it between their eyes. What the hell's wrong with you? But we are. Doesn't happen near enough. Yeah, some people need to get straightened out. Men.
I stood my ground. Well, he was shaking like a kindergartner.
Rick in Downers Grove, quickly.
Hey, good morning. Hey, like you said earlier, it starts in high school, the brainwashing, continues in college. They come out, they have some money, and the smart ones are the black women fleecing these morons. They don't care about race. They just realize these people are stupid, and they're going to fall for this. Let's take some money from them.
Thanks for the call. The culture of deference that Chevrolet Steele has written so eloquently about. It's real. Read, as Dawn from April said, read and then observe and connect the two to understand. Coming up at 7:07, speaking of connecting dots, we'll return to our conversation about the fallout from the Dexter Reed police-involved shooting and other matters related to Chicago policing when retired Chicago Police Lieutenant John Garrido joins us.
Light rain throughout the day. It's now 7 a.m. WIND Chicago.
Anger in Arizona. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
Shame on you! Shame on you!
That's in the legislature. State Rep Annalise Ortiz and other Democrats chanting at Republicans for ending discussion and adjourning amid attempts to repeal a near total ban on all abortions looming after Arizona's Supreme Court upheld an abortion ban dating back to 1864. Former President Trump said while campaigning that Arizona ban goes too far and it will be straightened out.
Former President Trump's first stop in Georgia, Chick-fil-A, where he urged Atlanta's black community to back him.
I've done more for the black community than any other president since Abraham Lincoln.
Trump, who lost Georgia in 2020, is back in the state to raise money.
Fox's Mark Meredith in Atlanta. In New York, a third Trump attempt this week to delay his first criminal trial was rejected by a judge. He calls it election interference. Jury selection is supposed to start Monday. The former president charged with falsifying records related to 2016 payments to keep quiet, an affair he denies having. At the White House, President Biden honored Japan's prime minister at a state dinner.
We've been brought together the same hopes, the same values, the same commitment to democracy and freedom.
Today, they and the president of the Philippines will hold talks on threats China poses
Threats that FBI Director Christopher Wray may discuss at a House hearing.
Wray says the FBI opens a new investigation into China every 10 hours. Some of those investigations could be opening right here in the United States after a surge of Chinese nationals crossing the southern border near San Diego, home to the U.S. Navy's 3rd Fleet, 2 Marine Corps bases, and West Coast SEAL teams.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson, 1 person's dead and 5 injured after a shooting in Washington, D.C. Several others were hurt when gunfire interrupted a Muslim end of Ramadan celebration in Philadelphia. The Biden administration is finalizing new rules to expand background checks on more firearm sales, like online and at gun shows. America's listening to Fox News.
Light rain showers and 52 degrees at 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Chicago police say a man was shot at the 95th Street CTA Red Line station Wednesday night. The 24-year-old man was involved in a verbal altercation on the mezzanine level of that station when shots were fired. Frustrated residents showed up in force this week at a Thornton Township meeting, demanding answers from Tiffany Henyard about everything from spending to a sexual misconduct claim against one of her allies.
When you don't answer questions, there's something to hide.
The Illinois Attorney General's office has also found that Henyard's staff may be violating some open records laws by refusing to turn over some records. A game popular among suburban teenagers, raising some safety concerns after a recent incident involving a concealed carry holder and players at a Gurney restaurant.
Somebody who was a concealed carry holder wanted to take action and try to protect everyone in the restaurant, and actually went to draw his weapon to help protect everybody. And it was quickly realized that the weapons that the students were holding were water guns.
The game is known as Senior Assassins. It's all for fun. It involves participants targeting each other with water guns as seniors get ready to graduate. Similar incidents have been reported in other suburbs like St. Charles. A man died after falling into an elevator shaft this week. Joliet police report the 23-year-old victim died after falling at the Joliet Equipment Corporation building. Legislators in Springfield are pressing Teach for America about their level of taxpayer funding and how many participants the nonprofit organization actually serves. State Representative Blaine Wilhauer said TFA funding, like a lot of education funding, does not go to the classroom.
We're spending more money on education now than we ever have by a large margin, and 7 out of 10 of our kids can't read. The same with math, and it gets even worse in some of my minority communities. These programs are supposed to be focused on. Where is this money going?
In TFA districts like Peoria, only 15% of students can read at grade level. Harvey, 12%. Round Lake, under 12%. Padres cruise to a 10-2 win over the Cubs in the finale of a 3-game set. Guardians over the White Sox 7-6 in 10 innings. Blues beat the Blackhawks 5-2. The news, a service of Del Bacchio Marchetti Group of Ad Properties, Christie's International Real Estate. With over $800 million in sales, you'll get the most value for your home. 708-828-0000, 708-828-0000. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka knows why they keep coming for Trump.
They want him in prison or worse. Why? Because it's clear. If the election were free and fair and if it occurred today, it would be a 49-state blowout. They know that if this man comes back and he can only serve one more term, he doesn't have to compromise with anyone. Therefore, he will be able to drain the swamp once and for all.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Oh no, is this real?
What is it?
Someone or something is taking over my computer.
Wait, same thing on my computer. Is the network down?
Look, there's a message asking for ransom money.
What?
Yeah, it says, "We have encrypted all of your company data and you have to pay us to get it back."
What do we do?
Cyber attacks are real and more common than you may think, especially on small businesses. Is your company protected? At Turnkey, we don't pay ransoms because our customers are completely protected and backed up. Is your company covered? No matter what your company does, Turnkey has the solutions to protect your business with cutting-edge IT, real-time threat hunting, with help desk and network support. Turnkey keeps cyber criminals at bay for a reasonable cost. What's your company's data worth? Visit turnkey.pro. That's turnkey.pro.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for less. And for a limited time, new customers receive their second month free when they sign up and use promo code MONTHFREE by May 31st. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
All right, who's there for heroes or their families left behind when a service member or a first responder dies or is catastrophically injured in the line of duty? Who helps our country's homeless vets? I'll tell you who. It's the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Never forget the sacrifices of our country's greatest heroes. They're hoping all of us will donate $11 a month. Just go to their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org, the letter T, number 2, letter T.org. For the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
Have you been struggling to find an easy, safe, and secure document scanning solution for Salesforce.com, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, or OnBase by Highland? Your struggle is now over, and it's time to get your documents and operations into the 21st century. With IoT Smart Connected Scanning, it's easy to turn physical paper into digital documents and have them directly uploaded to the cloud with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. And you don't need a degree in computing or IT to make it happen. Using QR code technology uniquely configured for your specific business, anyone can set the IoT Smart Connected Scanning device up in 5 minutes or less, saving your organization money and valuable time. Remote employees can even capture documents and send them safely and seamlessly. Organize documents efficiently and securely with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. To see a demo or to order now, go to ready4idt.com. That's ready4idt.com. Use promo code SMART and receive 10% off your order. IDT, putting paper in its place.
7:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. We will start in Lamont, Woodward Avenue and 101st. Report of an accident. On the Reagan, you're jammed up eastbound between Roosevelt and the Tri-State. Slow traffic on the ramp to the northbound Tri-State. Major problem there. Bishop Ford slows up between Stony Island and the Dan Ryan Expressway. Ryan itself, 26 minutes and climbing from 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Periods of rain, breezy, cool day. High today 55. Cloudy, windy, rain this evening. A brief shower or two late tonight, low 47. Showers early tomorrow morning, otherwise clouds and sun. A windy day. High tomorrow at 59. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
50 along Chicago's lakefront. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
I mean, what are you thinking about, Jerry? Marriage? Family? Well, they're prisons. Man-made prisons. You're doing time. You get up in the morning, she's there. You go to sleep at night, she's there. It's like you gotta ask permission to use the bathroom. Is it all right if I use the bathroom? Really? Yeah, and you can forget about watching TV while you're eating. I can? Oh, yeah. You know why? Because it's dinner time. And you know what you do at dinner? What? You talk about your day. How was your day today? Did you have a good day today or a bad day today? Well, what kind of day was it? Well, I don't know. How about you? How was your day? Boy, it's sad, Jerry. It's a sad state of affairs.
We were talking about race to dinner before Mike Scott's newscast, and I got a good text, I think, encapsulates. We're talking about the men, too. Now, these these ghastly white women who pay $5,000 to have someone come in and tell them they're racist so that they can be absolved of their sins and feel like they're good people when they kibitz at yoga class the next day. Text on this 630 about the men that they're married to, these male impersonators. Small penises and flashy cars and half good-looking women that they fell for, probably had a kid or two, and they don't want to give up anything, so they go with the program, and they're ballless, useless, worthless men, just as useless as their women. I think that's a good summation. Yeah. Good summation of the problem.
Sums it up pretty well.
Yeah, and of course that infects the political culture, and it also is reflected in our political leadership of the city, of the county, of the state. There's a lot of balllessness going around, that is to say. And where there are balls is where they shouldn't be, like between Lori Lightfoot's legs, you remember.
Hey-o. She is the biggest you-know-what in all of the city.
I've heard. And the village of Dalton's about to find out, aren't they? Mm-hmm. So on this matter of the police-involved shooting of Dexter Reed that we're returning to. We talked about it a bit earlier in the program. This is going where you would expect it to go. After Adam Toledo's police-involved shooting, the police-involved shooting where Adam Toledo was killed, after brandishing a weapon, after firing the weapon, then running away from police, and then turning with a weapon. He was shot and killed. It was a good shoot, even though it was a tragic occurrence, just like this was a good shoot, Reed, even though it's a tragic occurrence. So that led to calls to end foot chases, and now we have calls to end tactical units because foot chases are racist, endanger the populace. Now everything that is associated with an event where people don't like the outcome because people don't like the police. I'm talking about people in power. Where to then further hamstring police to the detriment of the law-abiding. And that seems to be where this is going to go. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by John Garrido, former Chicago Police Lieutenant, 16th District, president of the Garrido Stray Rescue Foundation, GarridoStrayRescue.org as well. John, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning. Thank you for having me again.
So, there's just your reaction not only to the specifics of the incident, as we have seen through the body camera footage of all the officers that were present, but also the fallout over the last couple of days in terms of what the trial lawyers representing the family had to say, what COPA has had to say, what politicians are saying. What's your sort of summation at present?
Well, like you said, anytime there's a loss of life, it's tragic. But the Monday morning quarterbacking and second guessing, started right out of the gates. Even just starting with the mayor and his comments, just the not acknowledging that the officer, that we actually had an officer shot. That this incident could, like so many other ones, could have easily been avoided. All he had to do was comply. All he had to do was roll the window down, open the door, get out of the car, and everything. He would live another day to, tell stories about how the police somehow violated his rights. But what he did is he made a choice. He had a gun in the car, and this is just my theory on it. He was arrested back in July of last year. He had a case pending for being in possession of a loaded firearm that he tried to bring into a festival. He was in court, or supposed to be in court, 2 weeks prior to this incident. So now he's out driving around again, and now he's got a gun in the car. The police put a stop on him. He doesn't want to go back to jail. That's got to be going through his mind. He's got a loaded gun in the car. And instead of just getting out and just dealing with the consequences, he picked up his gun and he decided to fire. I totally fired at least 11 times from inside the car. He attempted to murder those police officers. His intentions were clear. And then this whole incident occurs within a couple minutes, and everybody wants to come in now. Well, was the traffic stop legit? Should they have even stopped him at all? Why are we? How does a and that's what they tie it to. How does a traffic stop end in death? Well, it's not the traffic stop that ended in death. It's him trying to kill police officers that ended in his death.
Good point. And
that's exactly where it comes down to. They keep wanting to go back to, well, how does a traffic stop end in death? Because he picked up his gun and he shot at the police. Right. Everybody's got to know that's going to be the end result.
Wait, John, I'm sorry. You said 2 weeks prior to this, did he go to his court hearing or did he blow it off?
I don't know. That I don't know yet. I don't know. I just know that 2 weeks prior he had a court date. I don't know if he actually went or not.
Okay, now these 4 officers, they're saying that one of the 4 shot at Reed 3 times as he was laying motionless on the ground. Do you know anything more about that? I mean, the video shows him he was still moving while they handcuffed him.
Yeah, well, he was also still moving when he went down on the ground. So you've got a situation where this guy, he fired first. He starts shooting at the officers. Now you're in the heat of battle, right? He tries to drive the vehicle away. He crashes into the car in front of him, and then he gets out of the car. He's coming out of the car. You can't see his hands when he's initially coming out. They're supposed to, not supposed to, but they are firing until they stop the threat. Well, this guy made his intentions clear. He's firing at the police. He comes out of the car. They are going to continue to fire until he's neutralized, until he stops. When he goes down, unfortunate for him, the way he goes down with his hand under his body in a way that they can't see what he's doing and if he still has that gun or not. And it happens within seconds. It's not like they chased him a half a block down and then continue to fire on him. This is all immediate, right there, out of the car.
So we should, but that's nobody's interested in that. It's the other things. It's let's talk about traffic stops. We need to eliminate. And by the way, there's legislation in Springfield bouncing around. We need to eliminate pretextual stops, right? We need to. There's no reason to stop anybody for a seatbelt violation. No reason to stop anybody for expired plates because it's done in a racist way. And so the best way to eliminate that manifestation of racism is to eliminate those traffic stops.
Yeah, just completely eliminate proactive law enforcement, proactive policing altogether. We're not going to chase anybody on foot or by vehicle. We're not going to do any traffic stops for any, quote unquote, minor violations. But then at the same time, hold the police accountable because they're not getting guns off the street and because they're not damping down crime. You have to allow the police to do what they're supposed to do, and that's to enforce law and order. And as long as you're going to eliminate all that, well, then this is what you're going to get. You're going to end up with high crime. You're going to end up with all these burglaries and robberies. You're going to end up with guys like this driving around with guns in the car because they know they're not going to get stopped. All they have to do is just not do anything super crazy.
The other problem, in addition to the stop itself, the other problem is the tactical unit was the tactical officers were mean. They were loud. They were yelling, which is not nice. And they also had guns drawn. And so they were very menacing. And it's understandable that somebody would be afraid. And thus it's somehow understandable that that person who was afraid would open fire on 4 police officers.
Yeah. So when they come out of the car, for officer safety, you want to get the person to comply, right? You want to make sure that everybody's safe, right? So they tell him to roll the window down. He rolls the window down, and he's just staring at the officer. He's not talking. He's not saying anything. He's just staring at the officer, and then he starts to roll the window up. Well, the first thought, okay, what are his intentions? Why is he now not complying? Obviously, something is wrong here. And so they're going to raise their voices. They're going to, things will start to, I guess to say, escalate, right? They're going to try to get him to comply, get him to unlock the door. Of course guns are going to come out because we don't know what he's doing. We don't know what he's up to. And as that window starts to go up, then all of a sudden he starts shooting. So their thoughts were correct. He was up to no good, and he ended up shooting at the police and shooting one officer.
Well, and the family's attorney maintains that they didn't identify themselves as police officers, so that he might have been scared when they approached his car.
Oh, right. He thought they were. He thought they were gangster disciples. Right.
You took the words out of my mouth. Yeah, they looked like a few gangbangers driving around in a police car that pulled them over with a siren, and they were all dressed in police gear.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
they're going to be grabbing at straws. They're looking there. Look, at the end of the day, they're looking for a payday.
And they're going to get it.
Tragic that, absolutely. I'm sure I wouldn't doubt it.
Now,
I wouldn't doubt it.
What do we know more about Dexter Reed? I mean, I found out that he did go to Westinghouse. He graduated in 2016. He was on the basketball
we've seen
team.
the
They
photo.
took him to a regional championship, but that was 8 years ago. And the family said that he had aspirations to start his own clothing company and maybe become a sports broadcaster. But nothing says that
Okay,
he has
Costanza.
a job.
Yeah. Okay.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Maybe I
And
could
you
go
know
into
what?
sports
And-
broadcasting.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody has
doesn't.
lots of thoughts and ideas of what they're going to do, and that's why all this stuff comes up. We get the traditional cap and gown picture that comes out.
Yeah.
They'll go reach back all the way, like say 8 years ago to come up with things about him, and he might have been, on a good track at one time, but clearly that's not where it's gone. He was out carrying a gun last year in July, and then now here he is driving around again with a gun. What he's up to? Don't know. What his intentions are? Don't know. Maybe he drives around because but that's what it comes down to all day long. He fired at the police 11 times at least. They found at least 11 casings inside of his vehicle. So it wasn't just, I'm going to let a round go and hope the police are going to run away from me and back up and get out of here to quote unquote scare them away. He was trying to kill police officers.
Do you think the tactical unit knew who he was?
I 100% don't know. I have no idea. From watching the videos and things, I don't know. I'm not sure.
But I mean, it's because it's one of those things where, give us more color on the tactical units because, I mean, the areas they patrol, they know who the gangbangers are. I mean, there's a level of, sophistication here in terms of intel from experience and the work product of generations of police. You know who the gangs are, how they operate, who the old players are, who the new players are. And I'm not saying he was in a gang. I don't know. But I'm just and if you're in a specific area, then you get to know that landscape pretty well, don't you? So you sort of know who the bad guys are because most of the people in these neighborhoods are good guys. I mean, they're law abiding. And so the bad guys are relatively easy to pick out based on their conduct.
That's absolutely correct. They definitely, and that's what you want. You want your TAC teams to be in tune with the neighborhood, with the community, to know what's going on and to know who the bad actors are. And you want them out there. You want them to be out there doing proactive policing. You want them to out there doing these stops. You want them getting the guns off the street, getting the drugs off the street. That's what you want your TAC teams to do. And these officers, they were definitely going somewhere to put, to do something, and it looks like they put a stop on this guy. Whether they knew who he was or not, I don't think I heard in any of the videos. They didn't never say his name or anything like that, so I don't know if they knew him prior to that, who he was. But I don't know, maybe the vehicle was involved in something previously and they recognized it. I'm not sure.
So that'll all come out at some point. But the larger issue, though, about these tactical units, we heard from Sheila Betty, who is a legal clinician at Northwestern University Law School. It's Northwestern now we're talking about, John, so mind your manners. She said that tactical units are essentially hit squads. They are hunting for prey, and that's what happened on that fateful day that Dexter Reed was shot. You had a unit that was hunting, and Dexter Reed was their prey.
Oh, my God. The inflammatory stuff that people put out there, and then they wonder why when we have, rioting and we have things go up for grabs later on. I mean, even just look at the headlines of half of these articles and things that come up. It's ridiculous. Obviously, they're not hunters. Their job is to go out there and to keep the community safe by enforcing the law and making arrests and eliminating crime. That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to be out there working, and, they're out there looking for bad guys. That's what they're out there doing. Nobody's hunting hit squads. I don't know what the stats are as far as the number of officer-involved shootings that are specific to tactical officers, but I don't know that they're any higher than anybody else and the uniformed officers.
I got to ask you this question about FOP because we sort of had the same conversation about Jonathan Jackson after he slimed white Chicago firefighters saying last week that they let buildings in black neighborhoods burn because they're upset that black residents force them out of the neighborhoods in which they used to live, and they just don't care about black neighborhoods, whereas in white neighborhoods, they save lives and save property. The firefighters union responded by rescinding their endorsement of Jonathan Jackson, rescinding an endorsement they conferred on Jonathan Jackson. Why would they do that was my question.
Right.
I mean, why would they endorse him in the first place? So here's the thing. Looking at FOP's D2s, the PAC for FOP, the D2s, friends of Justin Slaughter got $10,000 from FOP. And so did other defund. Justin Slaughter was the lead sponsor on the Safety Act, the Pritzker Purge Law. And so did other Dem state legislators who are defund the police, decarceration, deprosecution type Democrats. And then I see this from my old friend Dave Sullivan, who was a state legislator from Park Ridge for a time and is a lobbyist now. This in the Lodge 7 FOP legislative report. We're seeing bipartisan support for our renewed efforts to work with the legislature, and our bridge building with some legislators who've not always voted the way FOP wants is showing great progress as well. The pension COLA bill for Chicago police officers now has bipartisan sponsorship. The lead sponsors in both the House and the Senate voted for the Safety Act. The House, it's Justin Slaughter, the guy who just got 10 grand. And in the Senate, it's that guy who looks like 20 pounds of manure stuffed into a 10-pound bag, Bob Martwick, on the northwest side there. And so I guess my question is, why should I look at this and not say, oh, I see, lawlessness on the streets of Chicago and statewide instituted by politicians like Slaughter and Martwick. But as long as we get our COLA bump, we'll sell out the city, the state, and our own officers for 30 pieces of silver.
Well, there's lots of reasons, I imagine, that they endorse who they endorse. I myself have had disagreements many times and discussions with different regimes that have come through FOP in regard to who they support and who they don't support. There is a fairly large committee. They do discuss it. They interview all the candidates. It doesn't make sense sometimes. A lot of times it doesn't make sense. I can't explain it. It doesn't make any sense. On its surface, you're right, it doesn't look good. But I don't know why they would support somebody who actually was actually one of the lead legislators in the Safety Act.
Yeah.
And especially, I mean, not only just support it, but actually give them money.
It's really something. I mean, it's frustrating because, you want to be on the side of people doing important work like police and fire and even government workers. But it's tough when they're not on your side, too. And that's what I feel about these public sector unions, including the police and fire often. Very frustrating. John Garrido.
The union is out there to support people who are going to support the interests of their members, and sometimes that just any unions. That's not always going to coincide with what the community thinks. But remember, the members themselves, that's who we support. We support our officers, and our officers are out there working every day, putting their lives on the line for us in the community, regardless of what any of the unions do. It's still, we always want to support our police officers.
Well, I agree, but you'd like some better alignment from the union, the official union's conduct oftentimes. John Garrido, former Chicago Police Lieutenant, 16th District, president also of the Garrido Stray Rescue Foundation. If you're looking for a pup or you're aiming, you're looking for another cat, GarridoStrayRescue.org, GarridoStrayRescue.org. John, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good talk.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, I'm Gary Rabine, founder of Rabine Paving and the Rabine Group. I'm a partner of Job Creators Network. I believe that less regulation is important to American freedom and protecting the American dream. Job Creators Network allows me to engage in the fight against job-killing regulations and allows me to network with thousands of other business leaders locally and nationally to grow my business and to fight to protect the American dream. Job Creators Network has been instrumental in winning many battles protecting freedom and small business over the past 10 years, stopping the Biden vaccine mandate and stopping the Biden student loan bailouts at the U.S. Supreme Court. These are two amazing wins. The JCN team has taught me that we can make a difference. For $1,500, only $1,500 per year, you can partner with me in Job Creators Network and fight for the American dream. Find us at joinjcn.com. That's joinjcn.com. Partner with me today and join us to fight for our American dream.
Oh, the signs of spring are upon us. Birds are singing, crocuses are popping up, and your concrete is sinking. Permaseal can help with that. I'm Roy Spencer with Permaseal. As you start your spring cleaning, you'll likely see some cracked or sunken concrete, a sidewalk, stoop, driveway, or your patio. These problems will only get worse with time, but there is an easy solution. Our poly-level system can raise and level concrete quickly and effectively, putting an end to eyesores and dangerous trip hazards. Call today for a free estimate, 800-421-SEAL. Poly-level is the quickest, least expensive, and most durable system to repair your sunken concrete problems. Don't live with a problem that will only get worse.
Permaseal has been making Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana homes healthier and more valuable for over 45 years. Call today to receive 10% off or up to 18 months no-interest financing. Don't replace it, raise it. Call 800-421-7325 or visit permaseal.net.
AM 560, The Answer.
Got a lot of text messages. Dan and Amy, remember Officer French was murdered during a traffic stop.
Yeah.
And another question, will Dexter Reed be drug tested post-mortem? He might have been high on drugs, hence the horrible judgment. I'm sure that they're doing toxicology and all that, but I will check with the medical examiner too because I want to know how many times he was actually shot. But they'll give that information soon. But anyway, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:37, we'll talk to George Mason University professor Daniel Klein about the censorious state agencies at the federal level, who apparently, maybe, also are operating at the federal level in countries like Brazil. Also, Elon Musk, on the same topic, updates us on what's going on between X and the country of Brazil when it comes to their censorship. We'll have that all at 7:37.
But first, let's stop by that newsroom and say hello once again to the best in the business. Here's Mike Scott.
7:33, 51 degrees. And the Biden administration says they will attempt again to close what they call a background check gun show loophole. Officials say the new federal rules expand the definition of licensed firearm dealers and sharpen existing enforcement measures. It's unclear what led to 3 people being shot at a Ramadan event in West Philadelphia yesterday. Police say hundreds were at that event in a park. 5 have been arrested, according to Police Commissioner Kevin Bethel.
They observed 3 males and a female running, and they stopped those individuals, and we recovered 4 weapons. At that same time, we have one of our officers who was assigned to the area engage a 15-year-old male who has a weapon.
Commissioner Bethel says the female officer shot the 15-year-old suspect in the shoulder and leg before that suspect was transported to an area hospital. Watch out for storm systems bringing severe weather today to parts of the southeast and Ohio River Valley. A risk of high wind and isolated tornadoes stretches from South Carolina down into Florida. Yesterday in Louisiana, St. Tammany Parish Fire Chief Chris Kaufman says big tornado did plenty of damage.
No fatalities. A couple of injuries, but just amazing that we got through this area, how bad the damage is in those severely injured people.
1 person was killed due to a storm in Scott County, Mississippi. No one will wear the number 22 for the Iowa women's basketball program ever again. Caitlin Clark became the all-time leading scorer at Iowa in women's basketball in her 4th season with the club. Chicago said a man was shot at 95th Street at CTA Red Line Station, where police say a 24-year-old man was involved in a verbal altercation with an unknown male suspect on the mezzanine level of the station. A lawsuit was filed against Chicago Public Schools Wednesday, where a former student alleged that she was groomed and then sexually abused by the dean of students at her high school, and the school did nothing to stop it. According to the suit, former Little Village Lawndale High School Dean Brian Crowder is alleged to have repeatedly sexually abused the former 15-year-old student. Crowder was charged with sexual assault in 2022. The suit now takes aim at the school and CPS. Chicago sports, Padres cruise over the Cubs 10-2. Cleveland came back to beat the White Sox in 10, 7-6. Blues beat the Blackhawks 5-2, and the Pistons clash with the Bulls. News is powered by CharlesEquipment.com, weathering every storm And keeping the lights on? Need power and electric now? Reach out to charlesequipment.com and have the power brought to you. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager sees bullying from the left.
Man wins first place in women's weightlifting competition. Do you know why they allow men who say they're women to compete? The answer, cowardice. They don't really believe it's right. If it weren't for cowardice, the left would not win any election. People are afraid of the left.
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Charlie Kirk at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
I like to be active, and as you get older, I know it because I am older, you're more prone to injury, and I could not get rid of the pain.
QC Kinetics patient Diane Richardson talking about how a hiking injury left her in awful pain.
No one wants to live in pain. I certainly don't want to live in pain. I don't have time for pain.
Diane had heard about regenerative medicine, so she called QC Kinetics and started treatment right away, and the results were incredible.
I couldn't believe it. I honestly was skeptical, but the pain went from a 10 to a 0.
QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in using natural biologics, healing properties from your own body to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. There's no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime.
The result was phenomenal. I mean, I was not feeling any pain. I'm able to do everything that I want to do.
If you have pain from arthritis or injury, this may be the solution you're looking for. Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation.
It was a game changer.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
It has been confirmed. Those brave Americans who are trying to preserve free speech continue to be censored, shadow banned, or silenced. Wealth Protection Research is on a mission to share the liberating ideas of some of America's brightest and most free thinkers, people like Jim Rickards and Porter Stansberry, whose ideas are putting financial control back in the hands of everyday people, helping them protect their money against a government that seems intent on destroying it. Text TRUTH to 76626 to find out more. As this election moves forward, we just released a report that reveals our 3 favorite ideas for protecting and growing your wealth during the 2024 election. These ideas are especially critical if you have an IRA or 401k. Text TRUTH to 76626. Discover ideas that are so simple and actionable they might save your retirement. Text TRUTH to 76626 now for your free report. That's TRUTH to 76626. Standard text and data rates may apply.
Life is complicated enough without having to worry about your financial concerns when you retire. In a perfect world, your retirement funds would just be there when you reach retirement age.
But it's not a perfect world, and you really need to look ahead and be proactive to manage the dollars you've earned.
The team at Wealth Management Group can help. Uncomplicate your financial future and talk to the team at Wealth Management Group today.
Call 833-WMG-PLAN. That's 833-WMG-PLAN. Or invest with WMG.com.
Are you ready for an adventure of a lifetime? Journey with me, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, and my friend and colleague Mike Gallagher on the Patriots Alaska cruise this summer. An incredible opportunity to engage with other like-minded patriots on an epic 7-day cruise over 4th of July weekend. Witness the untouched wilderness of Alaska over pristine water, all while celebrating America's past and future. June 29th to July 6th. Call 855-565-5519 or go to patriotsalaskacruise.com.
Now there's a simple, easy, and effective way to clean your nose and protect your health. It's called Navage. Navage, available at Navage.com.
It's 7:40. Let's get a check of the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. It's delivered by Quick Delivery Service. When you need reliable same-day delivery to clients, Quick Delivery will customize a logistics plan to pick it up and move it safely to its destination. Trust their 40 years of experience for peace of mind. Get a quote at quickdelivery.com. Route 53, a medical emergency on the exit ramp to Algonquin Road this morning. Delays on the tri-state due to a disabled vehicle. A right lane blocked. It's on the southbound side of 294 between North Avenue and St. Charles. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Breezy and cooler with periods of rain. High 55, currently 51. Next news at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. If you'll indulge me, I want to read a little excerpt from a commentary I penned that we'll post at American Greatness Today, where I podcast, on Trump and his statement earlier this week on abortion. So first, Trump left office after exhausting his appeals to the legislative and judicial branches. Now Trump is deferring to the will of the people of the several states as expressed through their duly elected state officials when it comes to the legal treatment of abortion in post-Roe America. Trump is the strangest of all iterations of tyrants, one who believes in federalism, as he acknowledged when he invoked the Bill of Rights, the 10th Amendment specifically, in response to criticisms from some pro-lifers of his position. It's unusual for a dictator to concede limits to his power. But Trump's position on abortion is simply a political compromise in order to advance his electoral chances in November, right? Yeah, perhaps. So in other words, he is tailoring his view on abortion to secure the votes he needs from the people to win an election fairly. Again, it's quite the reluctant dictator who seeks the consent of the governed. I say this, just that excerpt, just because of the Trump, the tyrant, Trump, the tyrant who won't dictate to the people on abortion, whereas the left is all for federalizing, centralizing the issue and dictating to the country. And I'm sorry, who's the tyrant again? Whereas Trump is pushing back against sort of an open-ended commitment to the surveillance state per his pushing some House Republicans to vote against Section 702 reauthorization under FISA and reminding people of the FISA abuses that directly impacted him. And I would add the FISA abuses that have been documented and conceded by Christopher Wray and the FBI in terms of illegal searches of Americans, abuses there. So, and it's the left and the Wall Street Journal editorial board that suggests anybody who doesn't essentially write these blank checks to agencies that have disgraced themselves, like the FBI, have demonstrated that they are terribly politicized. They're the threats to democracy, to a free society. Right? Trump, he's that threat to a free society. Just remarkable, particularly since he's a known quantity. You may remember he was president for 4 years. It wasn't that long ago, but people have short memories. Incredibly short memories. I think conveniently short memories. I've said this many times. All the bloviations and cringeworthy rhetorical moments aside, terribly conventional politician when it comes to the actual give and take of politics. And there are some real authoritarian threats afoot. And one was documented thanks to Elon Musk and the reporters he entrusted to tell the story, like Matt Taibbi and Michael Schellenberger and others. The Twitter files. This is the subject of the Murthy v. Missouri case pending before the Supreme Court. And the government, the federal government, their unconstitutional use of cutouts to suppress speech through third-party social media platforms that they couldn't suppress directly themselves. And now we see the same thing happening in Brazil. And the only reason there's a fight is because Elon Musk owns X. Because otherwise, these other social media companies, as we saw in this country, go along to get along because, well, it's nice to have the federal government backing your play when you need them. If you're a global company,
it's their coworkers.
And so, where do things stand in Brazil with Elon Musk, and what exactly is the involvement, if any, because it's been alleged, of those same censorious agencies in our government that have meddled in the last several elections in this country? Here's what Elon Musk's latest report is from Brazil in terms of what they're threatening if he doesn't comply.
They have threatened to cut off X entirely from Brazil. They've also threatened to arrest our employees, and they have applied a $20,000 a day fine.
But Bolsonaro, the previous president that was ousted in sort of in similar fashion to Trump, curiously, he was the real threat to some sort of small d democratic form of government in Brazil, not Lula in that Supreme Court that is putting the arm on X. This is not an endorsement of everything Bolsonaro said and did, nor is it an endorsement of everything that Trump said and did. It's just a description of the landscape and who has behaved in a way that should be more pause for concern. For more on all this, we're pleased to be joined by Professor Daniel Kleins, Professor of Economics at George Mason University, author of Misinformation is a Word We Use to Shut You Up. Yes. Professor Klein, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Glad to be here.
So what about that situation in Brazil and I mean, any comment you have to the extent you'd like on whether or not there are American fingerprints on what is happening at the what the Brazilian government is attempting to do to X?
I think you described the situation well, and I think what's happening in Brazil is happening, well, I wouldn't say everywhere, but here in America, obviously in a lot of countries like Canada and Europe. The censorship, I think, is the other side of the propaganda. You need to see this whole tyrannical effort as involving those two things necessarily. So without the censorship, the propaganda, the big lies, would be ripped to shreds. So it's very important that they censor the people who would dissent from, criticize, expose the big lies. And that seems to be what these people are about. I think they have CCP envy. I think they envy the CCP for being able to weaponize everything to basically criminalize the opposition and achieve one-party authoritarian rule. I think that's the dream of the left, whether they kind of consciously realize it or not. I'm not talking about the Democrat next door. I'm talking about the leaders, as it were, of what is now the Democrat operation.
Well, to believe that they don't realize it is to say that they are just so committed. They are just so confident about the righteousness of their cause that they haven't even contemplated that in a free society you're supposed to allow dissenting opinions, and I should be confident enough in my belief system, my argument, that I'll persuade people to my view of things, because that's how it works. This is like sort of like a grade school civics lesson about living in a free society and about our representative republic. So it strains the bounds of credulity, I guess, for me to believe that they don't understand the implications of what they're doing.
They seem to get the signals of what to be doing and saying and enforcing from above, as it were. And they just, don't think critically about it and don't realize the hypocrisy and inconsistency of what they're saying and doing with respect to things they otherwise, or just, a few years ago would say, for example, about free speech. I don't think they are. I think most of them are not well aware of how bad what they're doing is. And they delude themselves. So I agree that there's a great deal of self-deceit, delusion involved. And misinformation, the word, their use of the word misinformation is a stratagem to put across this censorship, because it misrepresents what it is they're really objecting to. What they're objecting to is not properly called misinformation. It would be more apt for them to say that they are opposing wrongthink, okay? things that they don't like. And it's not proper to express it as an informational matter. Information is a narrow part of knowledge. It's a narrow dimension of knowledge. The wider dimensions are interpretation, judgment, and it's in those wider dimensions where the objection actually lies. Like I say, it's really the broader concept of something like wrongthink that they're feeling. They don't like, someone says the virus came from a lab, and they say that's misinformation to say that the virus came from a lab, or they used to. And it's not an informational matter. Information is a flatter notion in epistemics and in normal language. Like when we're misinformed, we're ready to admit the correction. Like if I go into the supermarket and I ask the clerk, where's the peanut butter? And he says it's in aisle 6. And I go to aisle 6 and I don't find it. I look around, I find it in aisle 9. He misinformed me. And I say, hey, I found it. It was in aisle 9. He says, oh, sorry about that. That's what misinformation is. So it's really about, so they're putting across their censorship by representing the people that they are censoring as committing simple falsehoods, so cut and dried falsehoods. And, we all oppose cut and dried falsehoods, right? And so that makes it look kind of innocent on the censor's part, like to shut up people who are making cut and dried falsehoods. But it's not cut and dried falsehoods. What they're actually censoring is larger issues of judgment about who to trust, whose interpretations to take seriously, what to make of the situation. And that's what free speech and a free society is about, for us to sort through different points of view, different interpretations and judgments over interpretations. So the misinformation label they use is a strategy to censor.
Well, shouldn't certain things be censored on social media? Like, remember the Tide Pod Challenge, and in your article in the Wall Street Journal, you talked about Supreme Court Justice KBJ, Katina Brown Jackson, about a hypothetical that she proposed about a teen challenge where it involved teens jumping out of windows.
I'm not saying that the government shouldn't take steps to maybe try to suppress certain things. My objection is that the justice there called it this information. I think she should say this content, this material, these images, these videos, because it's not just like what people jumping out of windows. What is the information? What informational content is there in the video which valorizes jumping out of windows? That it's cool, like suppose you take it as saying, it's cool to jump out of third floor windows. That's not an informational matter. It's a larger matter of interpretation, judgment, aesthetics even, like what's cool, right? And so it's just wrong to kind of call it information as the justice did. And that's all part of this stratagem on their part to make it look like what they're doing is innocent. We just want to rid the world of these cut and dried mistruths, misinformation, when really what they're doing is they're censoring what they don't like. You see?
Yeah.
So it's not that I don't want to say the government should never do something or whatever. The point is that we got to be on to this misinformation stratagem. It's a censorship stratagem.
Right, because it's a catch-all. Yeah, you're right. You just throw everything that, as you said, you just throw everything that you don't like, you don't want to hear, you don't want other people to hear because it's a dangerous word or a dangerous idea, into the misinformation bucket, and it's nice and clean that way.
The honest way for them to do it is, what you say is wrongthink. We think it's bad. We're shutting you up. And if they were honest that way, it would be obvious that they're just censoring different judgments about the world.
Yeah, too obvious, which is why they're not that straightforward about it. Professor Daniel Klein, professor of economics, George Mason University, author of Misinformation is a Word We Use to Shut You Up. Professor Klein, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Did you and your family lose Illinois Medicaid and need health coverage? Check this out. You may be eligible to enroll in a low-cost health plan at healthcare.gov. With the new law, 4 out of 5 customers can find a plan for $10 or less per month with financial help. Healthcare.gov offers quality plans that cover doctor visits, prescriptions, emergency care, and more. Healthcare.gov is here for you. Enroll today for coverage starting the 1st of next month. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-353-2973 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-353-2973. That's 800-353-2973. What do you have to lose? Call 800-353-2973. Again, 800-353-2973.
Hi, this is Randy Donnelly from Donnelly Auctions in Union, Illinois, with my current want list for upcoming auctions. Guns and military items are always at the top of my list, but I have buyers for vintage automobiles and motorcycles, old gas pumps and automotive signs. Do you have pinball machines and coin-operated games like slot machines, jukeboxes? How about Coke machines and soda machines? Also, neon signs, antique phonographs and music boxes, old toys, especially science fiction and Star Wars. Cowboy and Native American collections like barbershop, ice cream parlor, and saloon items. We'll take one item or an entire collection. We sell it all. Call me before you sell your items outright because you could be leaving a fortune on the table. And you won't know until you call me at 815-923-7000 or send me an email at DonnellyAuctions.com. My job is to get you top dollar for your collections, so call me at 815-923-7000. I'm Randy Donnelly, and I'll see you at the auction.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Is the sun setting on the Xi regime? We'll discuss with Stephen Mosher, the president of the Population Research Institute, at 8:08.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
Amazon ordered to pay a Chicago-based tech company for patent infringement. One wounded in a shooting at the 95th Street Red Line station. Illinois Senate approves a bill to provide free IDs to people leaving prison. Family of an employee stabbed to death at a Rockford Walmart is filing suit. State Senate passes a bill requiring insurance companies to cover cancer screenings. Blackhawks fall to the Blues. Cubs get beat by the Padres, and the White Sox walked off by the Guardians. WIND, Chicago News Time, 8.
Another report shows inflation creeping up. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. This time at the wholesale level, the day after a consumer price increase led to a sell-off on Wall Street. Producer prices rose 0.2% last month. The annual wholesale inflation rate also went up in March.
We came in with 2.1% year over year. The estimate was 2.2, but still that is stronger than last month. I want to be clear. We're still jumping.
Fox Business Network, Cheryl Castoni. Now to the Arizona legislature.
Shame on you!
Angry Democrats chanting at Republicans for adjourning instead of repealing a looming abortion ban, shrugged off by a GOP state rep, Teresa Martinez.
Simply because we do not want to repeal the pre-Roe law without first having a conversation about it.
That law was upheld by Arizona's Supreme Court Tuesday, dating back to 1864, banning abortions even in cases of rape and incest. At the White House, a toast from President Biden to Japan's Prime Minister.
Join me in raising your glasses to our alliance
to our friendship.
Fox's Jared Halpern's at the White House.
Both leaders agreed to better integrate military operations and capabilities. Japan is also joining an air defense network with the U.S. and Australia. Today, President Biden and Prime Minister Kishida meet with the leader of the Philippines for a trilateral summit on security and stability in the South China Sea.
The top U.S. commander and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin are talking to their Israeli counterparts worried about Iran's threats to launch a retaliation to Israel's attack in Syria that killed an Iranian general. Republican Senator Dan Sullivan tells Fox the U.S. needs to do more.
Iran funds and trains the Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah. You don't have any of those terrorist proxies without Iran, and we have not done nearly enough to deter them.
The Biden administration is finalizing new rules to expand background checks for more gun buyers. America's listening to Fox News.
51 degrees at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Chicago police say a man was shot at the 95th Street CTA Red Line station Wednesday night. The 24-year-old man was shot during a verbal altercation on the mezzanine level of that station. A lawsuit was filed against the Chicago Public Schools Wednesday, where a former student alleged she was groomed and then sexually abused by the dean of students at that high school. According to the suit, former Little Village Lawndale High School dean of students, Brian Crowder, is alleged to have repeatedly sexually abused a former 15-year-old female student. Crowder was charged with sexual assault in 2022, but that lawsuit now takes aim at the school and CPS. Northwestern University says it will play the majority of its home football games next season at its lakefront soccer and lacrosse facility, while a new Ryan Field is constructed. Northwestern plans to install a temporary structure at that soccer and lacrosse field that will remain in place through the 2025 season. And the University of Illinois is dropping its sex assault investigation into basketball player Terrence Shannon Jr. The criminal case against Shannon continues in Kansas. Chicago sports. Padres beat the Cubs 10-2. The Guardians come back to beat the White Sox in 10, 7-6. Blues over the Blackhawks 5-2. The news, a service of the AM 560 store. T-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands, including Proft University. 8:04, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Liz Clayman, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Online used car dealer CarMax says it was selling more cars but made less in the recent quarter because car prices declined. Higher interest rates and tighter lending standards have impacted sales. President and CEO Bill Nash says CarMax has been making it easier for car buyers by enhancing automation and using artificial intelligence. CarMax shares are down 11%. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy says generative AI could be the largest technological transformation since the internet. In Jassy's annual letter to shareholders, he says AI is the next pillar of growth for the company, following Marketplace, Prime, and Amazon Web Services. Wall Street will be reacting today to the Producer Price Index for March. Inflation at the wholesale level. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
8:05, a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk sees the cards.
Nicole Shanahan is soon going to be a household name. And RFK might as well have just selected Rachel Maddow. RFK is showing you the type of ticket he wants to present to the country. Radical, fringe, anti-police, anti-rule of law. That's actually very good news for those of us that want to see Donald Trump win in November.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
A storm is on the horizon, and you need to keep the lights on no matter what. Your business relies on the power being on 24/7. It's the lifeblood of your data and computer systems. Weather-related outages from the power company are not acceptable. Your need for a source of power that's reliable 24/7, along with round-the-clock service that can dispatch technicians to your site immediately, is mission critical. Your business needs Charles Equipment Energy Systems on speed dial. These are the big boys, not residential or solar, but reliable industrial generators for emergency backup or events. When you need more than a 100-foot extension cord plugged into a small engine generator, call Charles Equipment Energy Systems. They keep the lights on with rental generators for job sites or power outages. The storm season is here. Plan ahead. Call now to prepare generators for sudden damage and potential power outages. Call 630-834-6000. That's 630-834-6000 or charlesequipment.com. charlesequipment.com.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for less. And for a limited time, new customers receive their second month free when they sign up and use promo code MONTHFREE by May 31st. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
You know, since 9/11, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has been committed to supporting our nation's first responders and veterans. They support America's heroes like U.S. Army Major Jonathan Turnbull. Now, Major Turnbull sustained devastating injuries at the hands of an ISIS suicide bomber. Tunnel to Towers gave him a specially adapted smart home designed for his needs. Join Tunnel to Towers. They're hoping all of us will donate $11 a month so this great work continues. Their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org.
Hey, business owners, are you wondering how to grow your business? Do you need cash flow and a ready source for financing? Well, Signature Bank can help. Hi, Mike Gallagher here to let you know that Signature Bank's loan decisions are made locally by a team who knows your name, cares about your business, and is invested in your success. When you need advice about your business or even have a question, Signature Bank is there to help. There are no handoffs or call centers. This is a team that wants to get to know you and your business. That's why Signature Bank in Chicago is my bank. That's right. I'm a customer. When I call, someone picks up the phone on the other end. And with Signature Bank, I can securely bank anywhere, anytime. Reach out to my friends at Signature Bank. Call 773-467-5630. That's 773-467-5630. Or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. Signaturebank.bank. Your business could be Signature Bank's next success story. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
8:08, let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Inbound Edens, 45 heavy minutes, Lake Cook Road to the junction. The Kennedy right now is at an hour and 15 from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike, solid 17th all the way through Holman. An hour and 6 right now as you travel from 390 into the old post office. Outbound side, accident, left shoulder, outbound approaching Irving Park Road. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Breezy and cooler with periods of rain. High 55 today. Currently 51. Next news coming up at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Can the Chinese Communist Party simultaneously be the greatest national security threat to the United States and also a party and thus a country in decline? That seems to be what our next guest argues. He is Stephen Mosher. He's the president of the Population Research Institute. He's an expert on China dating back some 40 years from an academic perspective. He's also the author of the recently released book, I think it's his 10th on China, The Devil in Communist China from Mao Down to Xi. The Devil in Communist China from Mao Down to Xi is the book. I had the occasion to record a podcast with Stephen Mosher that will be available next week for a more wide-ranging conversation on China. He's very, very knowledgeable. It was really interesting. We covered a lot of ground, and we'll try to cover as much as we can here as well. Stephen Mosher, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Well, it's good to be here with you, Dan and Amy.
So explain that seeming dichotomy. It's an existential threat to the United States. We've got a select committee that was chaired by Representative Mike Gallagher from Wisconsin on the Chinese Communist Party, and at the same time, it is a party and thus a country in decline. And so, how should we understand what our posture should be?
Well, I mean, China had a good run, but it's now over. I mean, the demographic collapse is ongoing. They eliminated 400 million unborn children in the one-child policy, which ran for 36 years. Those workers, those women, those men who would have created families and had children of their own, they're gone. And China's population is aging and dying more rapidly than any human population has ever aged and died. So that's strike one. Strike two is they've overbuilt. I mean, my goodness, they've got 65 million empty apartments. They've got ghost cities all over the country because they overbuilt. They've got empty shopping malls. They've got half-constructed high-rise apartment buildings. And they've got tens of millions of people who invested their life savings into those projects, only to find the companies that were supposedly building those apartments and retail outlets have gone bankrupt. The money is gone. And then, of course, you've got the best evidence that China's on the decline is you've got tens of thousands of people from China crossing illegally our southern border. I mean, over the last 12 months, about 40,000 from China. The numbers are staggeringly increased over the last couple of years. So there's a huge pool of money and people desperate to get out of China because it's a country in decline. That doesn't mean it's any less dangerous. Mm-hmm. That may, in fact, make it more dangerous. I mean, Xi Jinping, with his back against the wall domestically, might seek a foreign adventure. In fact, he seems to be doing just that with vis-a-vis Japan and Taiwan and the South China Sea, the Philippines right now.
And so when I'm sure when people that work for multinational corporations that may have a presence in China, big manufacturers, social media companies, car makers, Elon Musk, when they hear that, they're probably having a tough time reconciling that too. Do you think that corporate America appreciates where China is and maybe where their interests lie? I mean, to say changing the distribution of their resources and supply lines out of China more quickly than has been done up to this point?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Dan, because you saw that begin under President Trump in 2017, 2018, with the first round of the tariffs. Now, a company like Apple, headed by Tim Cook, or like Tesla, headed by Elon Musk, which has huge investments in China, is basically hostage to the regime. I mean, what are they going to do? They don't want to shut down their factory. They don't want to alienate the Chinese Communist Party leader, Xi Jinping, because he could shut them out of the domestic market overnight. Basically, they could regulate Tesla in China out of existence, Apple Watches and iPods and all the rest out of existence in China. That's why when Xi Jinping came to San Francisco, these guys were all there to dinner clapping for him, paying $40,000 a seat. They want to stay on the good side of the dictator because he can close them out of the domestic market overnight. So they're captive. They're captive. They've got too much money invested in China. There's no way to get it out, by the way. Currency transfers out of China are very difficult. So they're stuck, quite frankly.
Well, how did the Trump tariffs in 2018, still in place today, set China back on its heels?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Amy. This was a partial compensation, the Trump tariffs, for the subsidies that the Communist Party provides to export industries. China has two economies. It has, along the coast, it has the export sector of the economy, which is the only economy that really works according to market principles and makes money. The rest of the economy is in the doldrums. It's largely dominated by state-owned enterprises, which are white elephants that require huge state subsidies every year. And China cheats on currency. It cheats on trade. it sells goods sometimes at below the cost of manufacturing them. What do you do to compensate for that? So what do you do to allow a level playing field for free trade, but for fair trade, to keep American workers employed? Well, you put tariffs on Chinese goods. The tariffs actually need to be raised, and I'd like to see 10% tariffs across the board. But we've already seen a relocation of factories back to the United States, to Mexico, to Canada, to India, the countries that respect our values and institutions, rather than a country that, quite frankly, is headed by a communist party that wants to destroy us.
Well, so if the recommendation is to go after China's export economy to further cripple the regime, then don't you fear, and wouldn't Tim Cook and Elon Musk fear, that one easy path to retribution is to punish those American-based global companies like Apple and Tesla? And it seems to me that a choice that has to be made is that a policy choice you're going to make and risk the repercussions in the domestic market, because something's got to give here, right?
Well, you really do have to protect the manufacturing base of the United States. Economic nationalism is national security. You've got to be able to make things in the United States, and you can't source. You can't build ships and planes and tanks and other things to defend the country if you're dependent upon component parts that come from your principal adversary in the world. That makes no sense. What's going to happen in the event of a conflict? You're not going to be able to access those component parts. So you've got to decouple from China. I don't think there's any way to manage the relationship so that we can live peacefully together. That's been the dream for the last 40 years. I've lived through it for the last 40 years. I was the first American social scientist in China back in 1979, 1980. We all hoped that China was going our way. It didn't happen. They are now reverting to type. They are still a one-party dictatorship headed down the socialist road to ruin, and they still desire and hunger to dominate larger parts of the world and to replace the United States as the dominant power in the world. That is simply a fact, however much we wish it weren't so. And so we've got to deal with the reality that China believes that this is a you live, I live, you die scenario. That's how you say it in Chinese, a fight to the death. Ni su wo huo, in Chinese. So, we've got to recognize that reality and decouple. Let's have closer economic ties to our allies in Asia, Japan, Taiwan, the Philippines, India. Let's bring industry back to the United States and open some of those 70,000 factories that were shuttered because China cheats on trade and manipulates its currency and subsidizes exports. I think that would be good for America. It'd certainly be good for American workers. Let's bring the Rust Belt back to life.
We've talked too about, of course, China's influence in international institutions. Let's talk about the World Health Organization as an obvious example, particularly because of the ravages of COVID response, the policies in response to the COVID virus. And now we have some talk emanating from China about avian flu again. Oh boy. And I wonder about this is not a conspiracy, it's a question. Disease warfare. I think it's pretty more likely than not that the COVID virus emanated from that Wuhan virology lab. But regardless of whether it did or it didn't, China's handling of it with respect to the rest of the world was not exactly honorable. And so and maybe it was incompetence, maybe it was purposeful, maybe it's a combination of the two. But what about that scenario replaying itself with another virus, and maybe particularly if China is nearing the death throes, as you suggest, maybe more purposeful, if that's possible this time around?
Well, Dan, I've written a book about pandemics and world history, and it turns out that since the Chinese Communist Party took power in China, they have actually released 4 pandemics on the world. The first was the Asian flu, 1957, 1958, the Hong Kong flu, 67, 68, SARS-1 back in 2003, and then, of course, COVID in 2020. And the reason I say they released it on the world is the first three of those were what's called zoonotic. I mean, they came from nature. Clearly, it was a virus that passed from nature into a human being in China and then spread in China. Why do I say they spread it throughout the world? I've said this in print, by the way, in the New York Post and other outlets last year. I say that because they knew they had a dangerous new virus on the loose. They knew they had an epidemic in China. They did not, in 1957-58, tell the World Health Organization or the world. They did not, in 67-68, with the Hong Kong flu, tell the World Health Organization or the world. They did not, in 2003, tell us about SARS-1, which could have been much more deadly than the coronavirus epidemic. But fortunately, our Canadian neighbors, Canadian intelligence, caught intelligence intercepts in China about a dangerous new pathogen on the loose, and we confronted Beijing officials, and they said, "Oh yeah, we've got this disease down in southern China, which is killing 12% of the people it infects. 12%. So this is a pattern, Dan. This is not the first time they have deliberately released a virus on the world. So I think it's quite deliberate. And by the way, I said in February, very early on, and got canceled for it, February of 2020, that all roads led to the Wuhan lab. And nothing I've learned in the years since has convinced me otherwise.
What is the stability of the dictator? The top dictator there, since they're all part of a dictatorial class. I'm talking about Xi, of course. What is his stability as the autocrat at the head of the Communist Party and thus the country? Is there, it's sort of the kind of same conversation we have about Putin. Is there any sort of palace intrigue where he could be deposed, popular uprising or something else that would change the trajectory of China?
Well, I mean, there's always palace intrigue in China. I mean, the infighting within the top ranks of the Chinese Communist Party is unimaginably brutal, and often results in imprisonment of offending parties. So what you have in China today is a person modeling himself on Chairman Mao Zedong, who was basically, by the end of his life, by the end of the Cultural Revolution, the absolute dictator of China. He was also megalomaniac, and in his final years, he was paranoid. So paranoid, in fact, that he had his principal rivals in the party killed by the Red Guards, and even his chief supporter, Zhou Enlai, he let die of cancer because he forbid the doctors to treat Zhou Enlai, who had been his premier for decades, his right-hand man, for bladder cancer, and let it spread throughout his intestines and eventually kill him in great pain. Why did he do that? Because he feared the rise of a rival, even among his friends. We see the same behavior on the part of Xi Jinping. At a few months ago, there was a party congress, and Xi Jinping's one supporter among the top ranks of the Chinese Communist Party for the last 15 years was the former president, Hu Jintao. President Hu had backed Xi Jinping from the beginning. It's why Xi Jinping is the head of China today, because he had the backing from Hu Jintao and his faction. And what happened during the last party congress? Hu Jintao was lifted out of his seat by the head of Xi Jinping's security force and taken out of the room. Why? Because he complained about the fact that his faction had not been given any seats on the Politburo, and apparently an agreement he had with Xi Jinping was violated. Anyway, the internecine warfare, the warfare between the factions, came out in the open, and the last faction, aside from Xi Jinping's, was publicly humiliated in front of 400 members of the Central Committee and alternate members of the Central Committee. Xi Jinping has an absolute grasp on power today in China. He's known as the chairman of everything. He's the chairman of the military commission. He's the head of the government. He's the head of the party. He's the head of all these other groups that have been set up in the government. He sidelined the premier, the number two guy, doesn't even come out in public anymore. He's probably afraid to say anything or do anything because Xi Jinping will see him as a rival and have him removed as well.
Well, the man that was removed, what happened to him?
Well, he was said to have had health problems. I bet he did.
Yeah.
How convenient. You have a health problem now, buddy.
So what you're saying? So she is the chairman of everything. So he's sort of like to the Chinese Communist Party or to China what Larry Fink is to corporate America. I got it. That makes sense. So this is going to get. In terms of the Chinese Communist Party, this is going to get more contentious and uglier before and if it ever gets better.
Well, it is, and because Xi Jinping had a successor when he took office, someone who's being groomed to take over the presidency in 2023. Well, that didn't happen. He had that guy charged with corruption years ago, and he's spending the rest of his life in prison. So there's no successor, and all of the other factions have been destroyed. And so it's only Xi Jinping's faction at the top of the power pyramid in China. What happens when Xi Jinping dies? There's going to be a vicious power struggle among his own subordinates, the people he trusted. And we don't know how that's going to turn out. We also know that there are demographic problems, economic problems, problems with the export sector of the economy. So all of this is coming to a head. And, whither China, we don't know.
Stephen Mosher, president of the Population Research Institute. He's an expert on China, as you've heard. He's the author of the recently released book, The Devil and Communist China, From Mao Down to Xi. Stephen Mosher, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good to be with you, Dan and Amy.
Yeah, thank you. Very informative, and we'll have you back. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Governor Pritzker's State Board of Education policy is that public schools can socially transition and counsel children that they are a sex other than their biological sex without telling their parents. Send a message to Springfield that we will not allow the government to make decisions for our children without parental consent. Help Parents Matter Coalition get an advisory question on the 2024 ballot about parental rights. Visit parentsmattercoalition.org to get involved now. That's parentsmattercoalition.org. Paid for by the Parents Matter Coalition.
Oh, if you have problems walking down your stairs, some people go down their stairs sideways because their knees hurt. Some don't even want to get up when the phone rings because they're in such chronic pain. You do not have to live like that anymore. And if you're afraid of surgery or steroids and drugs, look no further than our good friends at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is the future of medicine. QC is the nation's leader and the most exciting revolutionary in pain management we've seen in decades. Pro athletes have been doing this for years, so be like them. It's regenerative medicine. So if you're tired of those achy joints, if your joint pain is keeping you from doing what you love, you need to call QC Kinetics today to schedule your free consultation. Again, surgery, steroids, drugs, there's other choices out there. And Dr. Shinecup is a pioneer in this field. Has 20 years of clinical work, research, teaching, and publishing, and he wants to get you the relief that you need without going under for surgery. So call QC Kinetics now to learn more about some exciting options, a revolutionary approach that can get you long-term relief with no downtime. Call QC Kinetics now for that free consultation, and they have appointments now available on Saturdays. 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Oh no, is this real?
What is it?
Someone or something is taking over my computer.
Wait, same thing on my computer. Is the network down?
Look, there's a message asking for ransom money.
What?
Yeah, it says, we have encrypted all of your company data and you have to pay us to get it back.
What do we do?
Cyber attacks are real and more common than you may think, especially on small businesses. Is your company protected? At Turnkey, we don't pay ransoms because our customers are completely protected and backed up. Is your company covered? No matter what your company does, Turnkey has the solutions to protect your business with cutting-edge IT, real-time threat hunting, with help desk and network support. Turnkey keeps cyber criminals at bay for a reasonable cost. What's your company's data worth? Visit turnkey.pro. That's turnkey.pro.
Hi, it's Sean Thompson here. You know when you're at the mall and you go to those directory signs, the one that says you are here? Well, imagine that directory is a map of your preparation for retirement. Would you know where you are? My friend Tom Fortino at Alpha Wealth Group is offering you the opportunity to not only find yourself on that map, but also find the route toward a successful retirement. He calls it his retirement roadmap. You'll get an analysis of where you are right now, whether you're at risk if the market drops again, whether you're taking advantage of the latest tax changes, and much, much more. To get an idea where you stand on the road to retirement, call my friend Tom Fortino at the Alpha Wealth Group today at 630-934-1855. That's 630-934-1855. And ask for the retirement roadmap, or visit alphawealthgroup.com. And don't forget to listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour Saturday mornings right here on AM 560, The Answer at 9 a.m.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
For over 23 years, Applied Mechanical Sales has offered boilers, water heaters, and exhaust venting to commercial mechanical contractors. They aid in the selection of standard and high-efficiency hydronic system equipment for replacement or new construction. From schools to churches to high-rises and hotels, Applied Mechanical provides high-quality, cost-effective Camus boilers and water heaters in many of Chicago's most iconic buildings. Mechanical design firms trust Applied Mechanical to support them by specifying the size and type of boiler to best match a building's load profile for the worst of Chicago weather conditions. Engineers and contractors can be confident that they'll experience trouble-free operation for the next 15 to 20 years. Applied Mechanical Sales ensures their boilers are properly installed and operate at peak efficiency long after the initial startup. Go to appliedmechanicalsales.com to schedule a site visit and boiler replacement assessment. That's appliedmechanicalsales.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Are criticisms of Israel from the right justified? We'll put that question to Jonathan Tobin, editor-in-chief of Jewish News, the Jewish News Syndicate, I should say. And you also hear from Victor Davis Hanson, the great VDH, on that topic at 8:38.
And you don't want to miss that. But now let's head into that newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
50 degrees at 8:32 on AM 560, The Answer. The Biden administration is attempting to close the background check gun show loophole. Officials say they're doing it through new federal rules that would expand the definition of licensed firearm dealer. It's unclear what led to 3 people being shot at a Ramadan event in West Philadelphia yesterday. Police Commissioner Kevin Bethel.
They observed 3 males and a female running, and they stopped those individuals, and we recovered 4 weapons. At that same time, we have one of our officers who was assigned to the area engage a 15-year-old male who has a weapon.
That 15-year-old suspect was shot in the shoulder and leg and was then transported to an area hospital. 3 sons of a Hamas leader, Ismail Haniyeh, have been killed in an Israeli airstrike in the Gaza Strip. Hamas claims, without verification, 4 of the leader's grandchildren were also killed. The Israeli military confirmed it did carry out the strike. Utah state officials are hurriedly trying to shore up a Utah dam after a 60-foot crack opened up, sending water pouring into a creek and endangering a downstream town. Chicago police saying a man was shot at the 95th Street CTA Red Line station last night. The 24-year-old man was hit by gunfire on the mezzanine level of that station. A man died after falling into an elevator shaft in the south suburbs this week. Joliet police report that the 23-year-old victim died while falling at the Joliet Equipment Corporation building. Northwestern University says it will play the majority of its home football games next season at its lakefront soccer and lacrosse facility. A temporary structure at that facility will remain in place through the 2025 season. It's almost official. The effort to recall Robin Vos has failed. Wisconsin Election Commission says the group in Racine County who wanted to oust the state assembly speaker did not get enough signatures to force a recall. Now prosecutors in Racine County are looking into whether the recall organizers committed fraud and how they collected some of those signatures. Padres over the Cubs 10-2, while the Guardians beat the White Sox 7-6 in Cleveland, and the Blackhawks fell to the Blues 5-2. The news, a service of Del Bacchio Marchetti Group of Ad Properties, Christie's International Real Estate, experts in the northwest suburbs and Chicago. Call 708-828-0000. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Brandon Tatum just wants a better world.
I wish there were more black men like me. I'm just being honest. I don't care about race. Quit asking me about, are you the first black man to do that? Man, ain't nobody worried about that, man. At the end of the day, I'm a child of God. And God ain't worried about my color. What does this have to do with anything in life for real? Nothing.
The Officer Tatum Show, weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
The future of medicine is here at QC Kinetics. QC is the nation's leader in the most exciting revolution in pain management we've seen in decades. Regenerative medicine. If you're tired of achy joints, if your joint pain is keeping you from doing what you love, you need to call QC Kinetics today. Surgery, steroids, drugs, these are no longer your best options. Regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics is transforming lives with innovative treatment that delivers lasting results. QC Kinetics is under the leadership of National Medical Director Dr. Michael Scheinkupp. Dr. Scheinkupp is a pioneer in this field with 20 years of clinical work, research, teaching, and publishing. He wants to get you relief with a needle, not a knife. Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation. Appointments now available on Saturdays. Call 312-809-5955, 312-809-5955. Again, that's 312-809-5955.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm Dr. Michael Strasberg. I'm a dentist, and I've been taking Balance of Nature now for several years. In my practice, we talk to patients about their health, their nutrition, because the healthier you are, the healthier your mouth is. With Balance of Nature, I felt a noticeable difference. I felt better. Anytime you can feel better, I don't care what age you're at, that's a big plus, big plus.
Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order, plus $10 off any additional sets with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code Chicago.
The IRS finally caught up with Louie.
I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I owe the IRS a lot of money.
Louie was in deep trouble.
We're going to take your house, put a lien on your bank account, garnish your pay. They don't care. They're going to take your paycheck.
Louie found out about Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima Tax, they help me. They calm me down. They make me feel comfortable, and I trust them.
Louie has a lot to be thankful for.
I don't owe the IRS anymore, and I'm able to live a comfortable life, a lot better life. It was because of Optima Tax.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Take it from Louie.
If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call. They can help you.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
8:39. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is the service of ExpressPros.com. Express is already hiring for summer jobs in a variety of industries. Job seekers never pay a fee at Express. Go to ExpressPros.com to find your location. ExpressPros.com. Inbound on the Eden, solid traffic between Cicero and Montrose, 35 in from Lake Cook Road. The Kennedy, 95 minutes, O'Hare to the Burns Circle interchange. Your jam solid on the inbound Ike between 25th and Holman. Delays on the Stevenson between First Avenue and Kedzie. The Dan Ryan stop and go inbound between the Skyway and the Stevenson. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Breezy and cooler today. Periods of rain, high 55. Currently light rain and 50 degrees. Your next news update is at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. President Trump had some comments on the it's gone beyond the middling of the issue between Israel and Hamas by the Biden administration to pretty outright antagonism by the administration in the direction of Bibi and Israel in its prosecution of the campaign against the terrorist organization known as Hamas and other terrorist allies, including state sponsors of terror like Iran. You have top Democrat socialists like Pocahontas saying that Israel is guilty of genocide. You had to have the Secretary of Defense at a committee hearing this week say he sees no evidence that Israel is guilty of genocide, but nonetheless, he's being pushed on the issue by his party to make such a declaration as Elizabeth Warren did. Here's what President Trump had to say about this administration's turn against Israel.
Biden has totally lost control of the Israel situation. He has abandoned Israel. He's totally abandoned Israel. And frankly, you know, he's a low IQ individual. He has no idea where he is and who he's supporting. He doesn't know if he's supporting the Palestinians, but he knows one thing. He is not supporting Israel. He has abandoned Israel. And any Jewish person that votes for a Democrat or votes for Biden should have their head examined.
Any Jewish person that votes for a Democrat or Biden should have their head examined. Difficult to disagree with that, actually.
Well, it just reminds me of when Biden said, you know, if you vote for Trump, you ain't black.
He's not saying they're... No, it's not. He's not saying they're not Jewish. Okay. He's saying they should have their head examined.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's they're distinguishable, and I don't disagree. I would say the same thing. I would say anybody who votes for any of these Democrats who purport to represent you should have their head examined, unless you're some wealthy, overeducated, Wall Street financier or C-suite executive, because that's who they represent. The academy, the cultural institutions, the upper reaches of those cultural, civic, and corporate institutions. But in terms of anybody else, I'd say the same thing writ large. Absolutely agree. And that's why I find it curious, some of the criticism coming from places like Tucker Carlson, actually, when it comes to assertions that somehow the state of Israel doesn't treat Christians particularly well. We've heard this from some other less informed places on the right, like Candace Owens. That didn't surprise me. There's a lot of people on the right that don't know very much, unfortunately, as well. But it was a little bit more disconcerting coming from Tucker. And Victor Davis Hanson, I'll cede my time to him. He was on recently with Megyn Kelly on her podcast. My podcast is substantively better than Megyn Kelly's, but I'm not as pretty.
Oh, come on. You're comparing yourself to Megyn Kelly. You gotta wear just like a tank top.
Yeah,
she lets
exactly.
the arms show. If you know,
right,
it's a gun show, Dan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I got to do. Anyway, VDH took up this issue of these criticisms from the right or the center right in the direction of Israel per the alleged mistreatment of Christians. And I think he dispatched that assertion quite nicely. Take a listen.
Christians themselves, not their spokesmen who have to... The problem we have when we have Christians in the Middle East that are living in Gaza, there's not many, they've been ethnically cleansed from Gaza, most of them. But if they're speaking in Syria or they're speaking in the Palestinian Authority, they're terrified, and everything they say is monitored. So mostly the Christians are very anti-Israel, the spokespeople. But when you look at actual events on the ground, they have fled. They either go to Europe or mostly to America or Israel. I think Israel's getting close to having 200,000 Christians. And they're not people who were there in 1947 necessarily. Most of them came to Israel as a refuge from religious persecution by Muslim governments. And I think most of the evangelical community that I know of is still very pro-Israel. I think what we're talking about is the libertarian right intellectual movement. And I understand, I know that Tucker Carlson has voiced some things, Candace Owens has, the Cato Institute's been very vocal. There's some people on that website who've called for breaking relations almost with Israel. But I don't think it represents most Christians, much less most Americans. But I don't know quite what their arguments, because I've seen so many of them, it doesn't take a lot of brains to say there's 500 million people in the Middle East and there's 12 million that live on a democratic government. And that is the only democratic constitutional system there. And when you go to Haifa or Jerusalem or Tel Aviv, and I have been to every Arab country in the Middle East, and you go to, except Emirates, I haven't been there, but if you go to Tunis, or you go to Tripoli, or you go to Cairo, and these are moderate countries, you go to Jordan, you go to Baghdad, you go to Beirut, you go to Damascus, and then just compare it going to Haifa, for example, and it's just night and day. None of these people who are saying death to America, if they dared to go back into their own countries and they said death to Assad or death to the Palestinian or death to Hamas, they would be killed or they'd be in jailed. But they wouldn't, if you're in Israel and you say death to Netanyahu, you're not. And so it's not Muslim Christian, it's just an empirical difference between a free society that lives by the rule of law and its neighbors who do, for the vast majority, do not.
Yeah, I appreciate the reset from VDH to remember who our friends are, flaws and all, and who our enemies are, flaws and only, the Islamofascists. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Jonathan Tobin, Editor-in-Chief of Jewish News Syndicate. Jonathan, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good morning. And it's a tough act to follow Victor Davis Hanson, but I'll do my best.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess, sort of respond the same way that he did in terms of sort of the larger geopolitical landscape on which this is all occurring. And let's sort of remember, who we're talking about on both sides of the divide.
Yeah, I mean, he's completely right that the overwhelming majority of American Christians and certainly of evangelicals are pro-Israel. That's no doubt. They're the core of the pro-Israel, vote in this country, as well as the Republican Party. There's a lot here to unwrap. I mean, Tucker Carlson has always been hostile to Israel, but when he was at Fox, he kept it under wraps. And now, now there's no filter. And, the person he had on to denounce Israel is somebody who supported the October 7th massacres, who is, he talked about Christians in Bethlehem. Well, the Christians in Bethlehem have been decimated since the Palestinian Authority took over Bethlehem. Christian life, thrives inside of Israel. So, it's kind of nuts to even go there. But I think the main point that we're dealing with this week is something that you led with, with Trump's comments, stated in typical Trumpian, fashion.
Right.
But
very
the truth
nuanced.
is this administration, no matter who you think needs their heads examined, the Biden administration has turned on Israel. Immediately after October 7th, Biden said the right thing, supporting Israel, supporting the eradication of Hamas. In 6 months, he's flipped. He's gone 180. And he is basically threatening. He's doing exactly what the left, the hard left, the anti-Israel left, the intersectional radical left, the squad wanted all along by threatening Israel with aid cuts if they finish off Hamas in Gaza. And basically reading from Hamas propaganda talking points to do so. Now, that's really interesting. Number one, because it threatens the whole U.S.-Israel alliance, but it's also granting a victory to Hamas. If they are still standing when this war is over, they win. They get away with mass murder of October 7th, but more than that, they become the strong horse among the Palestinians, if you actually believe in the possibility of peace, that's over because Hamas has only two goals: the eradication of Israel and the genocide of its Jewish population. So it's really interesting that what we've seen in the last 5 years, when the original four members of the squad entered Congress in January 2019, Democrats were telling people like me who were raising an alarm about this, saying, oh, you got it wrong, they're outliers. Most Democrats are overwhelmingly pro-Israel, you can count on us. Well, in 5 short years, the squad has gone mainstream. And now it's the pro-Israel members of the Democratic Party, someone like John Fetterman, who I never believed that I would actually wind up praising, but I certainly am praising him now. Yeah. It's Fetterman who is the outlier within the Democratic Party, and the squad's views are mainstream. Biden has he's governed for the last 3+ years as if he's enthralled to the left on domestic issues, on open borders and economics and everything else. But now, with respect to Israel, because he foolishly believes that if he isn't, really anti-Israel, if he doesn't flip on Israel, he'll lose the election because he'll lose all the left-wing voters who hate Israel. He thinks he's going to lose. He's got to beat Netanyahu before he beats Trump. That's nuts because there are far more pro-Israel votes in the center of this country than to be lost on the left for being insufficiently hostile to Israel.
Well, that's why
what he's doing.
Well, that's why Trump said it's blunt and it may lack the nuance as often the case. But I mean, honestly, he's as usual directionally correct. I mean, sort of what you're describing is minus the chanting and the hyperventilating, the position that you're hearing from Elizabeth Warren and from the Biden administration generally, its surrogates, is indistinguishable from the temper tantrums you're seeing on college campuses or in the streets of major cities.
You're absolutely right. And it's just another version of the same thing. And in fact, it is the mobs, in the streets blocking bridges and tunnels and demonstrating, on college campuses, chanting from the river to the sea, for the destruction of Israel. Intifada, globalize the Intifada, which means terrorism against Jews everywhere. These are the people whom Biden is afraid of. He's not afraid of the vast majority of Americans who are pro-Israel and who want to see the terrorists defeated. He's afraid of the radicals. That's an odd way to govern, but when you're living inside the left-wing bubble, that is the White House right now, where you believe everything that you read in the New York Times and hear on MSNBC, you think the world is coming to the end if the radical left is angry at you. 30-odd years ago, Bill Clinton, I wrote a piece about this a couple of weeks ago. 30-odd years ago, Bill Clinton established his credibility as a candidate by having what was known as a Sister Soldier moment, where he announced this radical activist, who was calling for the murder of policemen, and everybody said, "Oh, Clinton is not, he's not enthralled to the left. He's a normal person. Maybe we can vote for him." Right now, Democrats don't believe in Sister Soldier moments. They believe in bowing to the left. That's what Biden has been doing. He sent, a delegation to the pro-Hamas mayor of Dearborn, Michigan, to apologize for his pro-Israel policies, his initial pro-Israel policies. It's an administration that has its priorities all out of whack. Not just about Israel, but certainly about Israel now, and it's blowing up the alliance with Israel. Whatever you think of Netanyahu, what he's doing is granting a victory to Hamas, and that's something no American president, no administration should do, no political party should want any part of.
Well, does Bibi need our help financially or supplying weapons, or do they need Biden and the U.S. for PR reasons?
They don't need Israel. Israel doesn't need the United States for PR reasons. There are tangible reasons why it does need the United States. Israel is dependent on the United States for arms resupply, for the Iron Dome, and for all sorts of other weapons systems. And that is a dependence that the United States has encouraged and indeed enforced. They've discouraged Israel from further developing its own arms industry and not be independent because they want Israel dependent. Obama wanted that. So Israel does need that. But Israel also relies on the United States to have its back at the United Nations, which is, it's certainly, you can dismiss it as a talking shop. But if the UN Security Council passes resolution recognizing Palestinian statehood to the terrorists, or to, as many in the UN want, or basically, having a ceasefire that is binding and would, result in sanctions against Israel if it continued its campaign, that would be really damaging to Israel. And Israel does depend on the United States for that. And what they've learned in the last couple of months is that they can't depend on the United States while Joe Biden is in office and while he's so afraid of the left.
Jonathan Tobin, editor-in-chief of Jewish News Syndicate, jns.org. Jonathan Tobin, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
You've heard Rumpke's Garage commercials on AM 560, and now they specialize in servicing Sprinters and light-duty diesels. But the experts at Rumpke's also service Isuzu and Chevy low-cab forward trucks. So if you own an Isuzu or Chevy low-cab forward truck but aren't sure where to get it repaired, take it to Rumpke's Garage, your #1 dealer alternative for repairs to your Isuzu NPR, Isuzu F-Series, or Chevy low-cab forward truck. Whether gas or diesel, your truck is the lifeline of your business. That's why Rumpke's Garage offers free loaners while your truck is being serviced. They'll even pick up and deliver for your convenience. Rumpke's Garage has the factory scan tool to properly diagnose Isuzu and Chevy low-cab forward trucks. Their commitment to your business is backed with a complimentary maintenance plan and free 2-year warranty. Go to Rumpke'sGarage.com to learn more about their specialization in Isuzu and Chevy low-cab forward trucks and schedule your appointment today. That's Rumpke's, REMKES, Garage.com.
At Signature Bank, going the distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text. You need someone who is always there for you. That's Signature Bank. We are a team that wants to get to know you and your business. Want to be Signature Bank's next success story? Give us a call today at 773-467-5630 or visit us online at signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Hi, I'm Gary Rabine, founder of Rabine Paving and the Rabine Group. I'm a partner of Job Creators Network. I believe that less regulation is important to American freedom and protecting the American dream. Job Creators Network allows me to engage in the fight against job-killing regulations and allows me to network with thousands of other business leaders locally and nationally to grow my business and to fight to protect the American dream. Job Creators Network has been instrumental in winning many battles protecting freedom and small business over the past 10 years, stopping the Biden vaccine mandate and stopping the Biden student loan bailouts at the U.S. Supreme Court. These are two amazing wins. The JCN team has taught me that we can make a difference. For $1,500, only $1,500 per year, you can partner with me in Job Creators Network and fight for the American dream. Find us at joinjcn.com. That's joinjcn.com. Partner with me today and join us to fight for our American dream.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right. Deputy, anything to add?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Thanks to Justin Kosick and Quinn McCarthy. We're back here bright and early tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Enjoy your day. It is now 9 a.m. WIND Chicago.
Will Iran attack Israel? I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The U.S. is so worried it could. The head